Welcome back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 105, which is Rosemary's Baby from 1968, directed, of course, by Roman Polanski, starring Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes. We recorded this just before Halloween, which is why now it seems a little late. But we recorded this on our Twitch channel, and of course, we would love to have you join us on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/martini_giant. This is classic horror films that we figured, based on the theme of our podcast, is something you may not actually have gotten around to seeing. So I figured, hey, why not watch this movie and talk about Rosemary's Baby, because it is a fantastic film, very important film in terms of the horror genre. And of course, it is Roman Polanski, which you may have some mixed feelings about. Nonetheless, still an important film. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. Like a couple of reminders, of course, we'd love you to join our Patreon. That is patreon.com/martinigiant. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you can get a part of our Discord and get part of our subscribers only section, which gives you special access to different areas. Love to have you be part of that. But for now, please enjoy Rosemary's Baby. This is our Halloween special. Normally on our Halloween specials, we try to do 3 films at once. I think the way that we go on about movies, it's going to be hard for us to do 3 films. So we figured let's pick a really juicy one. Mm-hmm. And we had several good ones that we were going out there. We were actually going with The Shining, but I think The Shining is almost too popular.
It's certainly, I think
it's
at its height. I'm happy about it. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. But it is certainly it more than ever before. It is recognized as the horror movie,
right?
Like the straightforward. Like, this is a horror movie. This is the model. And again, which I'm totally psyched about, but it is a little bit heavy saturation right after the show.
That's a good way to put it.
Yep.
But then we also had a couple other ones. The Thing was another one we still hadn't covered, but
which kind of blows my mind. I can't believe we haven't.
I can't believe we haven't done that. I love The Thing.
Yeah,
I know.
Great.
And we're gonna have to wait to Halloween to do that.
Yeah.
To do that anytime.
That can just be on a show called One of the Best Movies Ever Made.
Yeah.
And then we cover it. Fine.
But then this film is a film that I thought was perfect for our theme, because I have a feeling that there's a lot of people who've heard of Rosemary's Baby but never actually seen it.
Yeah, it's in the zeitgeist in terms of it's in the pop culture enough that it's a thing. People understand what it is, but I don't think people have actually watched it very much.
Right.
Great.
So happy to talk about it, and I figured I would just sort of really get into it and think about what it is. What was it like for you guys to see it again? When was the last time you guys saw it?
I probably saw it fairly recently.
I saw it like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I saw.
Really?
I've seen this. Yeah. I've seen this movie a lot, and it may be as long as a year, but not too much longer than a year. Okay. Definitely, it's a.
How about you?
One of the go-tos.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. Maybe 15 years since I've seen it. But I've seen it many times, but it's just been a long time. So it was kind of interesting to see it now again, because just what's really struck me is the amazing amounts of chauvinism. And
that's the whole film.
That's the plot, right?
Yeah, it is. There's a reason why the villain, like the primary villain you deal with, is called Guy.
Yeah.
like it's pretty blunt.
Yeah.
Her husband is I would argue that her husband in this movie is more vile than any of the devil worshippers in this movie.
Yes.
He is a hideous thing. And that he is called Guy is it's on the nose, but also quite hilarious.
Yeah, for sure. Eric, can you lower your volume a little bit?
You got it, baby.
Yeah, because you're peaking right now. Way in the red.
Tell me, I'm talking now. Good? No.
A little more.
Go, Eric.
La 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 la. There you go. Perfect. There you go. Yes. But yeah, so it was very interesting. Anyone in chat? Who in chat has not seen Rosemary's Baby? I'd be curious to find out, because there's a couple of people. Well, actually, Real Purgator is not here. Have you seen it? Have you seen it, Real Purgator? Purgator? Is it Real Purgator or Purgator? Purgator. I don't know. All right. Let's get through it. So, this starts off, it's in New York City, correct?
Yes.
Right.
What's the name of the building, Eric?
It is the Dakota. That's where John Lennon was shot.
Yep, the Dakota.
And just a little thing that a lot of it was shot in LA, but the Dakota and all the exterior stuff. And one of remember years ago, I told you I ran into Albert Maisel, and then he invited Nancy and I, and we went to his place at the Dakota.
Oh yeah.
That's right. And we hung out for like 3.5 hours talking about films.
For anyone who doesn't know who Albert Mansell is, he's one of the great documentary filmmakers of all time.
Yeah, he did Gimme Shelter.
Yeah.
And Salesman.
Yeah.
Great Gardens.
Great Gardens, yeah.
And his apartment was used for the scene where the baby's in the crib.
Oh, it's terrific.
And I was in there. I was like, that's unbelievable, because it really does. It's all the same woodwork, everything.
Sure.
It's crazy.
Sure. Yeah, that's really something. Yeah, like I think that the building in this movie is so iconic, and they spend so much time like crafting the vibes surrounding the building.
It's Dick Silver.
But the apartment was a set.
The apartment was a set, but they matched, basically tried to match the interiors. I felt like the interior, it was Richard Silver that did it, who also did like Chinatown. He was good friends with Beatty. He was one of the great production designers.
Yeah, it's really pretty incredible.
The thing is, I felt like the hallway's a little bit dirty, but it doesn't matter.
It felt.
Oh, you mean the outside of the apartment?
When they left the apartment going to the hallway.
Yeah, the outside apartment is dingy. I think that's
it's
a good
dingy.
thing.
Yeah,
but it was a little too much compared to what it is. I felt.
Well, in reality, it's like it is a corrupted place.
But
so
you're supposed to feel like it's.
Yeah.
I know it was a little too independent film before independent film.
But
sometimes the sets are always like they just put a bunch of raw umber on. It's like wow, it's destruction. But yes, it was definitely it was cool.
They create a really and they create a terrific space for this movie just with the opening shot panning across New York City. Because it really, there's something creepy about that shot, like the high angle and the compressed lens they're using, and everything feels like this overwhelming number of anonymous people. Then when it lands on the building where it's going to take place in, it's like you're already in a weird space. Like this is a strange tone. Plus they have like these big gaudy pink titles on top of it.
I actually like them.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like the font under us right now.
It's true. Yes, it's true. Because it's because the flowery bright pink font is essentially Rosemary herself, and the background, this dense, dingy, frightening, overwhelming background, is the rest of the movie. So they basically have a title design that echoes exactly what the experience of the movie is. And really, really brilliant.
Yeah, and this is, it's funny because I remember years ago I was watching an old movie with Brady, and he was like, why are they putting the titles at the beginning? Because now we always just put our main
all the credits at the beginning. Yeah, I
like,
really do prefer it. Like I think it is better to do this because it takes the time to establish the
world and who did it, and the production. Yeah. It's like it's more theatrical, I feel, when you do that. Yeah, and what it really insults me, just to go on a thing, is like when you watch television and then the movie ends, they take it and go shrink, and they scrunch it to the bottom right corner, and they speed it up. Yeah, it's such an insult to everybody that worked on it. You can't read anything.
Like I want an option in Netflix to not do that. Instead of going like this, and then you have to click on it and say continue to watch movie. Like I was watching the fucking movie. It's not over yet. Yeah, but yeah, it's like the brilliance of like opening credit sequences aren't. Like for the people that are being credited, that's important for them, sure. But what you're really doing is taking the time to do a lead-in mood. It's the book cover for the movie, and it's sort of like you watch like Fincher's Panic Room, where the titles are huge and inset into the sky and through the buildings and all this. Like it really puts you in a vibe before the movie starts.
Well, it's interesting. I had a conversation, or I met at THU, and I did a podcast with her. It'll be out at some point with Karen Feng.
Mhm.
She is one of the main title designers at Imaginary Forces.
Mhm.
And Imaginary Forces does incredible title design.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really big title design. And she was just sort of saying, she's like, it's kind of shitty now that, you know, on shows, when you watch a show and they make all these elaborate opening titles,
Right.
and now there's like skip opening, like
Skip opening. Yeah, exactly. No foreplay. That's what it should. The little button that says no foreplay.
no foreplay.
You know, it's like why would I skip this? You know, yeah, like the more, in fact, the more I love a show, like the less the chance that I'm going to skip the opener, because I want to get myself in the right headspace.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's all part of the vibe. It's all part of the vibe. Because the one thing I will say about because people, you know, the common phrase of never judge a book by its cover. Yes, that's true, metaphorically speaking. But a great book cover puts you in mind to read the book. It gives you the flavor. Right. It lets you know when, you know, how to start feeling about it, and then the book starts. And it's really great. And so yeah, this is up there with one of my favorite titles. Like this is up there. The the relentless scrolling of The Shining is up there. Where it's just like The Shining is just another credit that rolls by as you know, in the beginning. And also very similar to Rosemary's Baby is Picnic at Hanging Rock, which has all these moody shots of the outback, and then it finally lands on you know, on the school, right? And the music crashes in, and the font is flourished and huge and says "Picnic at Hanging Rock," and it scares the shit out of me every time I see it. You know, this is the great opener for Rosemary's Baby. Is that it really gets you, it lands you on the right stage.
It's pretty good, I gotta say. Now you're looking at this, it's like, this is going to be goofy, like it's going to feel goofy, but then you get into it, I think it's precisely the downward angle on the building with a very wide lens that makes it it looks like a haunted house, even though it's an apartment.
Absolutely. It looks really completely surreal. By the time you land on it, it's completely bizarre looking. And and it's the entire tone makes it very convincing that this is ultimately important to the movie itself, is that spoiler alert, this is we just watched it, my daughter and Anne, and this is a secret apocalypse movie, right? And so with apocalyptic movies, you need to believe in the world beyond the setting you're primarily going to be filming. And they do such a great job with that opening 2 minutes of convincing you that the rest of the world is filled with these haunted houses, essentially. Like that's what it looks like. And so when the punchline comes, you're like, yeah, it's the end. This is the end of the world. It's really, really brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Okay, so as we established, see this creepy apartment, but happy in music, very cheery music, right?
Yep.
And you see this couple is looking at an apartment, and they're being greeted by the super whoever is managing the apartment to see it, right? And it's a little dingy, as you mentioned, especially in the hallway, right? And there's an elevator boy, right? That was the time when you had elevator boys. And when 68 was this movie, right?
Yeah, right about that.
67.
Okay. I think it takes place in like 65. Yeah.
And so goes up, old elevator, the kind that doesn't even have buttons. You just have a lever that goes up or down.
Yeah, it almost looks
still like that.
Yeah, those old buildings.
There's only a couple like that in New York. I've been in the building on Gramercy. We were shooting, and it turns out I went to high school where only 39 kids in your class with one of the guy that owned it. And it was the top floor in Gramercy Park overlooking the park, and it had water pressure or steam pressured elevator. And there's only a few left.
That's weird. Yeah.
In New York.
It seems dangerous.
Well, the device itself, like the shifter to make the elevator go up and down, looks like something you'd find on a boat. You know, it's like it looks like one of those, you know, stop, full steam ahead kind of thing. Yeah, it's really weird. It's like even the interior, it's like the whole time it's just reinforcing the different construction of this world is really, really intense. Like
Yeah,
most movies would sort of blow that stuff off when like this is the meat and potatoes. This is the haunted house.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So they're looking at an apartment. The apartment was owned or was occupied by an older lady who died.
Mm-hmm.
They said, did she die in the apartment? Oh, no. She had a coma.
She went into a coma. Right.
She went into a coma, and she was in a coma for a long time, and then she died. And it's like, okay. And so they're looking around it, and it's very old lady-like.
It's very densely packed.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of knickknacks and stuff.
Not quite hoarder territory, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
And then there's
hoarder territory.
She's got an area in her study which have got a bunch of plants.
Yeah, herbs
right?
galore.
Herbs
Loads
galore,
of herb,
right? Yeah. And she had a note on a. Rosemary sees a little note on there. It's like, I don't want to be part of this anymore.
Yeah, it says I can no longer associate, and then it's unfinished. Yes, I can no longer associate myself, and then it's just that's it. So you get the feeling like this is the moment when she was writing this, and something happened to her.
Something happened to her.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Crazy.
And then so they're looking around, and then the apartment manager says, "Wait a minute. There's a closet there. There's a secretary, like this huge secretary that's blocking a closet."
Oh, why on earth would they do that?
Why did they do that? And so, and then Rosemary looks down and she notices the carpet has different, like it was dragged over.
Right.
Because it used to be here, and so they get them to move it over, and they open up, and there's a closet with a vacuum cleaner, and a couple shelves, right? That's it. And so I'm like, well, I wonder why she'd do that. So she says maybe she was going senile after all, right?
So,
anyway.
yeah, like Rosemary and her husband are young. They have a lot of money because the husband is a successful actor, at least a mid-level successful actor.
He's not really a successful actor.
He's been on TV. He's in a.
But at that time, getting on TV is a big deal.
Yeah, and so
TV's like commercials, right?
Yeah, but they say it though. It's big money, and it was a big. You're in commercials. That's a big deal.
He's in a very popular commercial, right? And
for Yamaha, right?
For Yamaha, and so he's the face of Yamaha right now. So he's making like this kind of money where it's not like this isn't famous money, and it's only incidentally rich money. It's rich for them at their level right now, but it's probably going to fade out. Right. Like this is like you happen to be the hot ticket right now, but it's not like you're, it's not like you're John Voight. It's like you're just the next pretty face. But they're trying to leverage that and take advantage of it to get this, hot location Manhattan apartment.
Right. But it's like, it's a great location. It's next to the theaters, et cetera, et cetera. So they said, okay, and they go ahead and they take it.
Right. They're living slightly beyond their means is the flavor that I get from it. It's like they're hyperextending themselves slightly.
Right.
And it's all because the husband, awesomely played by John Cassavetes, film director, is a charming, selfish narcissist. And so he's like, we have to.
He's an actor.
He's an actor. Yes, exactly.
Actors, like just by default, that's right.
And she in counterpoint is very
meek.
She's very meek. And what's very interesting, and I think what was sort of like they set this up very early, is that he is sort of even when he's joking, is very sort of pushy and bullying, right? And she gets he gets his way by bullying people and bullying her, and she gets her way by sort of manipulating him into doing the opposite of what she seems to be saying. And so she's just like, oh no, I mean, you don't have to do that. And then that's what gets him to do it. Right. And so they have, this is from the get-go, a super dysfunctional codependent relationship. It's just in the phase where it's kind of fun. But they both have really, really bad habits and ways to maneuver each other into doing things. And it's quite clear from the get-go.
Right. Okay, I got to interrupt this for a second. Look what just came in the mail.
Hey, podcast.
Podcast magazine.
Podcast magazine with...
And featured inside Podcast magazine.
Oh, my God. Where'd you get that, Chris?
Famous. Look at that.
We can't see because it's blocking me. But
Well, wait a
Martini
minute.
Giant is featured inside of Podcast Magazine.
How do you get a hold of that?
It's October 2022, Volume 3, Number
Nice.
9, Podcast Magazine. We
Too
are
legit
here.
to quit, man. This is
It
great.
says Martini Giant Drink Talk Drink, and then it is a 1, 2, 3, 4,
a massive layout
5-page write-up about us.
where I talk about nothing but Miami Vice for many paragraphs.
No. I got to say the font's pretty big for the thing, but it does.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good. We used to work.
Well, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's the kind of thing where this is a good leisurely read magazine, and it's actually beautifully laid out.
Yeah, it's actually really great.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
Did
So
you get
just-
a hard issue as well?
They just sent it. Lily just came in and gave it to me.
That's so
Just
great.
arrived seconds ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Podcast magazine. Congratulations, boys. That's great. We're in print. That's pretty
We're
great.
in print.
I love it. No, she was wonderful to talk to, and the magazine was. I think it turned out great. It's a beautiful magazine.
Yeah, it's great. I didn't like. I was talking to Brady. He's like, Podcast Magazine. Is that really a thing? It's like, yep.
There it is, man. There it is. Quite nice. But yeah, so now obviously, once the word spreads, we should start looking for an apartment to broadcast
Yeah.
out of in Manhattan.
in Manhattan.
In a lovely old building. I think it'd be like
We got a sponsor like Yamaha.
the face of Yamaha Martini Giant.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing that's funny. Okay. So after this, they leave and they meet with who appears to be their old landlord, right?
Yes, right.
But also Hutch. But also as a good friend of theirs, obviously, since they're having dinner with him, right?
Mhm.
He's making dinner for them. And he says, that building's really weird.
A lot of strange things happen in that.
A lot of strange things happen in that building. He mentions things like witchcraft, eating babies, murder, conjuring the devil, and like all this stuff. I mean, it sounds a lot of it a little bit like Ghostbusters when they're talking about ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, whatever.
And the thing is, like, this is the thing that you have in every good haunted house movie. It's just like the house. seems
Don't go
amazing,
up there. Yeah.
and then someone comes to, actually, it has a terrible history. But like, what's really sort of interesting is that, like, when you see this done in modern movies, like, it's so, like, they overplay it. Like they're just like, and then the murders, and everyone's taking it very seriously. And in this, they're just like, that's weird. Like it's just fucking completely blown off. Like, oh man.
Oh yeah, they completely blow it off. They completely blow it off. Yeah.
It's like, it's an old building in New York. Of course, it's had all sorts of weird shit happen in it. That's what it's New York.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it was when he says after the war, people started moving in again. Because at one point it was all empty because of all the crazy shit going on. But,
Yep.
All right.
But yeah, tonally, I think this is where it really establishes itself as a different kind of haunted house horror movie, because like it like, instead of giving credence to what, like, the evil plot, like from the get-go, it's like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, it just, the movie has this disdainful attitude towards it, and so it becomes even more convincing as it convinces you.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So then they obviously they're renting it and they're moving in. So you have them moving into the place. Place is all empty. They're just empty out boxes, right? And it's their first night there. The furniture's not there yet, and they're having like a picnic on the floor of the
Living room.
apartment.
Yeah, exactly.
Living
Just
room.
like, it's completely bare, completely empty room.
Right. They can overhear the neighbors also, like through the wall.
Right.
They were like, oh,
Because they split the living room was split, or their bedroom was split. It used to be a dining room.
Yes. Right. Yeah, and like, you could hear the classic voice of Ruth Gordon.
Right.
Like, she's such a
Darling.
oh my god, she's like the New York actress of all time.
Right.
And
From Dedham, I think.
oh, she is hysterical, man. Oh yeah, let me tell you, blah 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 blah, sweetie. Let's like all this.
Sweetie, come here. Have some of this. Yeah.
Like, she's constantly talking, cutting people off, and barely finishing her own sentences. And you hear her and her husband, Roman, talking through the wall.
Right.
And the husband, that's when Rosemary's husband says, "I think I can hear the women who ate those babies. I think I hear them still chewing." It's great because like it turns into this love scene. Like they're like after they finish up their picnic and they decide to fool around, right? And so they start making out on the floor, and then he lays that line down of like eating babies, and you're like, whoa, dude! Like,
why would you do that while having sex?
You have a good thing going on here. What are you doing?
Right.
But it's definitely sets up the theme.
Right. Yep. So at this point, she's nesting in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're painting the walls, they're getting the furniture put in. It's making it much, much brighter. It was a much darker apartment.
Yeah.
And now they're making it they're painting all the walls white, and it's very bright, very cheery looking, which is also kind of interesting how they transformed that space as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clearly like old lady used to live here, now a young couple.
Fresh young couple with, mid-century furniture, looking great. Great. Yep.
So she then goes down to she's very, I gotta emphasize, this movie is very 60s housewife feeling, right?
Yes.
She does the laundry. When he gets home, she brings him a beer and some snacks.
Mm-hmm.
This
is all part of the shtick.
This is part of the shtick.
This is what they're dismantling.
She meets that girl in the basement.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
It reminds me when the drink thing. There was a hilarious movie with Depardieu in it. I forgot what it was, but it was essentially he specifically plays the prototypical chauvinist Frenchman, right?
Right.
And so, but he is, and he's super homophobic too. And so he basically starts making fun of this gay person or whatever, and apparently gets in trouble. And then it's this whole thing that he's in, right?
Mm.
And so he's home and he's in shock, and he just walks home from work. He's in shock from this whole situation. And all he does is sit down in his recliner and just put his hand out like this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that his wife can put his drink in.
Puts the drink in. Yes, exactly. That's what it should be, right? That's it. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And this is like, and so with these two, like they're a hip young couple. And so it's like, it feels like
a little out of place, right?
It's weird. It's like, it's just a little like there's these weird, clingy old ideas that are still webbed into their lives.
More 40s and 50s than 60s, right?
Really? No, I don't think so.
No, I feel like he is such a, like he's like they're newfangled in terms of their,
women started to have careers at this time.
Yeah, exactly. But she is so dependent on his success that it turns into this. It turns.
Yeah, but there was a lot. I felt like there's a lot of characters like that growing up in the New York tri-state area.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm not saying it's unrealistic. I just think like it's
absolutely
like,
not.
It is unusual. Like the movie makes a point of it, and in the time period during which the movie is released, not just now, like you see any other movie, like you see a popular movie, like women are being pushed, like are pushing forward as like we're in control, we can make decisions and choices, we're heroic in our own, and like you get a lot more of that and a lot less housewifey stuff. Like it's the 50s, and there's a slight 50s-ness to their relationship, which they don't like. It doesn't seem like it's unrealistic to this couple, but it feels like she's sort of forced into it from their situation. Like he's making a shitload of money, he's a big egotistical dude, she's sort of a minimized character, and so they fall into these old school patterns that are a little bit out of date for the kind of movie that you would expect this to be at the time.
Right. That was a look.
I'm not. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's unrealistic. It's just unusual to see movies of this time period be so conservative with actors that are perceived as very progressive. Right. I'm not saying it's totally realistic.
What do you mean? But backtrack. Like with actors that in real life they seem progressive.
Yes, that's what I mean. So Cassavetes is very progressive. Like he is like cutting edge, indie drama He's
but he
Indy before Indy.
became that, you know.
Well, he's a problem actor even starting then. Like he's like,
well, he was making films in the 50s.
Yeah.
The point is, that's a big film to get.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
And in a way, that's pretty much what he was probably dealing with, because he had probably young kids at the time.
Without a doubt.
And to get a role like that.
Well,
so even if he was progressive,
the movie ultimately has a very progressive intent, and that's what the critique is. But instead of like having characters that are classically progressive heroes, like you see them in this sort of retrograde trap very early on. And for other movies of the time period, which were all trying to, this is like, late 60s is when they're trying to show progressive ideas on screen. Like this is unusually classical 50s style relationship, which they then make use of.
Yeah, I disagree, because I knew relationships like that as a young kid.
No, you're misunderstanding me. Wait, what I'm saying is like you're completely right that this kind of relationship existed, but that's not the kind of relationship you made a movie about at that time.
Yeah, but they were really, they come across as really selfish.
Oh,
people.
Hugely.
And
Yeah.
it's a real condemnation. And you know what? It is kind of a European view of Americans. Polanski.
It's a total critique.
Yeah. And exactly. So I think it's, there's a lot of different angles to that thing, because I feel like also there was it's not anti-Semitic because Polanski's Jewish, but there was a way that they really accented Jewish New York life, particularly in the Upper West Side.
New York,
but
actually.
Saperstein, all these, and the way they, there was a way they accented that, and I was like, it was just kind of a weird, it wasn't an American interpretation. It was
the author of the book, I believe, is Jewish as well. And
yes,
so
and Polanski is as well, and he suffered, his family did in World War II.
Right.
But the thing was, it was definitely, if you look at it, there's a European perspective.
Old school, absolutely. There's an old school, deep history quality to this, right? So we're essentially saying the same thing. There is an old school, deep history quality to the story, right? And the movie itself, by casting Mia Farrow and what's his name, like these are hip, like these are magazine ready actors who are doing hip new stuff. And then you have this very old worldy relationship and movie that starts playing out, and which makes it feel like it feels strange from the get-go. Like this is not if you were to like talk to Mia Farrow in Vogue, like she wouldn't be supportive of exactly the kind of relationship that's being shown here.
Yeah, but there's also a thing to it, I feel, because at that time she had just married Sinatra.
Sure, right.
Who was like,
there's a lot of history right there. Exactly.
Like late 40s, early 50s.
Right.
And that was a big deal, for him. And it was it wasn't scandalous, it was. But I think Ava Gardner comment on their marriage was, well, he always wanted to sleep with a young boy. He finally got it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that was her comment. But, Ava Gardner broke his heart. That was the one that he screwed up. But yes, that was for her at the time. She was also, I'm not saying a Kardashian, but she's definitely was like a real, her sister Prudence, the Beatles wrote a song after, and Dear Prudence, and they were with the Beatles in India. So she was like absolute hip chick.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's so like what it's setting up is like it's already putting this hip chick in a very conservative position, and that's what makes the movie feel weird from the get-go, which is on purpose, right? It's like here's this sort of 50s style relationship that she's in with her husband, and then everyone around her is ever more conservative. Like it's a conservative building. The forces that are bearing down on her are conservative forces, and she fights against this by getting a Vidal Sassoon haircut, and very, very stylish new things, and trying to take control of her life.
Well, that's new. That's not conservative. Pretty much everybody in that building is liberal, Democrat, and that's just the way.
Yeah, I shouldn't say conservative. I should say history. It's the weight of history is all around her and how you're supposed to act, right? And I think that's what's really interesting about the movie is there are many movies that are anti-counterculture movies at this time, which show villainous crazy hippies being the witches, this kind of stuff, right? But in this, it's a bunch of old people, and it's like it's like all these old people for decades and decades and hundreds of years have been pressuring people to act in a certain way, and that's what that's what Mia Farrow is up against.
But it was
it's
a counterculture thing too, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like when you bring up there's a European view of America in this movie. It's like Polanski gets the counterculture idea across in a very weird way, in a sort of an inverse way, and not he doesn't take the easy route. He takes a complex route to criticize what's wrong with America. And I think it's really brilliant to cast, especially Mia Farrow, in this role up front, because she's not acting in the way she's already in a thing that she's like you would not expect her to be in.
Yeah, but I'm sure he was like also Polanski at that time after Knife in the Water. He was like a big deal director. So to get that role, and I'm wondering too if the marriage to Sinatra was. I have to look it up. I don't know if she finished the marriage because it only lasted a few years.
Sure.
Or it just happened. But I remember when she was with the short haircut. That's when she was around Sinatra, and that's where the young boy comments came from.
She is quite famous for hooking up with major influential stars. Directors.
Stars.
Well, yeah, and her
like this is what she does.
Well, her
How many times has she been married?
She was
Andre Previn, Sinatra, Woody Allen. I don't know if she was married to, but
yeah, I mean they're essentially married. You know.
But the thing about, I mean, they were like the real, hip thing. She and her sister, and I don't know. It probably was a good thing. Plus, maybe she felt with the thing with Sinatra, she felt. I don't know. Maybe she used that star power to get the role, but it was a big role for her. And
very much so. This is the breakout thing for her. In every way.
But this was her first big film, right?
Yeah, this is her first big film.
Yeah, she did. No, she was in a television show.
Yep.
Well, she said it says she was in her bio. It says she was noticed for the first time in Rosemary's Baby.
She was in a television show that was black and white.
Right.
And she was. I don't know if she was a major player, but she wasn't. And her mother was a big deal. She was Jane, and so. But I think she was in a television show.
Yeah.
That was one of those black and white family shows. Not Leave It to Beaver, but something. My Three Sons. It was something like that where she played a love interest.
She made very focused choices in her career to make sure that she could get where she wanted to be, and this was one of them. I think that's what happened. And I think that she is very much in control. She's very much in control of her life. And
I think the nude scenes show that. Like she has no problem doing it. Yes, it's that time, but it's also it helps the movie propel the movie, the realness. And I think it was brave. She took a chance.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe she was feeling like, oh, I married Sinatra, my career is over, or I don't know. But she was young.
Yeah, and so like by having her opposed throughout the movie by Cassavetes, Cassavetes is like this. He is like as a personality in real life, he's a really pushy, abrasive artist.
Yeah.
And he's no fucking around. And then he is cast in this role as a consumer production person. He's an actor who advertises Yamahas. It's the opposite of who Cassavetes is.
It's interesting because he comes off as a jerk. Not really a jerk, but just he's kind of nice and affable, but definitely selfish.
He is he is the most sinister force in the movie because he has absolutely no integrity whatsoever.
None.
Like zero
he's a starving he's a young actor with a wife, an expensive place. He's got to think about himself, make money, and it's a hard gig.
Yeah. And he's everything he does, he says he's doing it for the both of them. He's not. He's like it's like when the dude goes blind and he gets the role. He's just like, oh, I'm so sorry, but I'll take it. It's just like he has it's not wrong to take the role, but you can see that he is putting on a performance of grief. You know,
Right.
like he could give a shit about anybody else or the trouble that like he's like the pain that he's going to be forcing Mia Farrow through. He's just like it's incidental. Like as long as I get what I dream of, then it's okay. She can take it. Like he's a like at least with the bad guy, like with Roman Castevet and those guys. I mean, at least they have the courage of their convictions. Like they're gonna do it. They're like, oh yes, we're not backing down. Whereas Cassavetes is a Weasley, shrimpish, terrible man.
Yep.
And but he's very charming and fun.
Okay, so
But here's the thing: his motivation could be, I just have to do this for my family, because how am I going to afford all this, and everything will be taken care of.
I
don't know if that's the case. I don't.
Yeah, well,
agree.
he says that at the end.
That's what he tells himself.
But that's but he's still telling himself that.
Yes, that's the
like
line.
if I just do this, it's because it's a hard road as an actor, and he just lost the role.
Right.
But thank God he just got saved. So
except that he is forcing someone he ostensibly loves to go through in an insane amount of pain and lie to her and gaslight her constantly.
Yeah, but isn't that Ozark in the beginning?
I haven't seen Ozark yet. I saw the first episode. It's really good. But yeah, he's despicable. He's utterly despicable and very charming.
Breaking Bad.
Oh, absolutely.
I got to do this to get money for the family.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like Breaking Bad. He is a terrible person.
That's right. But he keeps telling himself, I'll have enough money to take care of the family, even though he's got a wall full of money. Yeah, it's that same.
He is not doing it for anyone.
Shard of glass, as they say. Yes.
He's not doing anything for anyone but himself, and he is pretending to. He's putting on a show of loving his wife. When if she died, like, he'd get over it pretty quickly. Yeah,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. But anyway, so they go to she goes to the laundry room, which is in the basement. Mm-hmm. Very creepy looking basement.
Yeah, fantastic.
And she's just sitting on a chair reading a magazine, waiting for the laundry to happen, right? Which is just a thing, right? And then she meets another young woman there, probably about her age, right?
Yep.
And this young woman, and they start chatting. And it turns out that she said she lives with their neighbor, the older couple who are next door to them. Because I've been staying with them. They took me on, and it turns out that she said, I was in the street. Basically, she was a drug addict.
Yeah,
right? She was
turning tricks and doing drugs and
so they took her in and sort of changed her life around, and she owes them everything.
Right, the Castevets.
The Castevets.
Yes,
and like, it's so nice.
That woman was the Playboy Playmate of the Year.
Oh, no kidding!
In '68, yeah. And she was in a movie called Chuka, and she was basically, her name is Victoria Vetri, and she's actually went to prison for murder.
No.
Yeah,
no, really?
In the 2000s, like 2018,
wow.
4 times. But I have this feeling she was actually up for the role as Maria in West Side Story, but was sideswiped by Natalie Wood.
Uh-huh.
She was in Wagon Train, Kings of the Sun, Chuka, Rosemary's Baby, and When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, and Star Trek. And she was a Playboy Playmate of the Year. And the thing I was reading about this, the interesting thing is that when they were discussing in the movie, that Mia Farrow says, "Oh my God, you look like that actress Victoria Vetri." Right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's her stage name. Her real name is.
That's right. Because a lot of people say I look like her.
She's also known as Angela Dorian.
Right.
And that was her name she used for Playboy. But her real name was Victoria Vetri. So as a little side joke, he said, "Oh, you remind me of Victoria Vetri."
Right.
That was a little comment, the inside comment I found out.
Funny.
I was like, that's
really
kind of funny.
That is kind of funny.
I have a feeling, I wonder if she was sleeping with Polanski or something, because it was definitely one of those producer's girlfriends kind of vibe.
I was going to say, like,
she was the most popular playmate of the Vietnam War era.
There we go.
Who, Victoria?
Yeah.
Her image was in the Apollo moon mission. They put it in as a joke, her centerfold.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's insane. But like, I really do love her. Like, I love her casting in this role, because like there's something unnerving, and it's because she's not a very good actor, but it's like there's something unnerving about her.
She's a great actress.
Yeah,
I
she's
really want to clear the air with her.
Like especially up against Mia Farrow, who's incredibly, like, very easily talented. Like she's very
Right.
like it's like there's no camera there at all with Farrow, and to put her in a scene up against her, right, like really emphasizes what the other one cannot do very well, and it has a very strange effect on the scene because it feels really desperate.
Right.
And so you're in this really creepy setting, and they're talking, and here's like Farrow's like essentially Farrow's broadcasting this vibe of like, why are you acting so weird? You know, like I'm a natural person. This is real. And she's like, no, everything is fine, and I live with the Castavets. And you're like, this sounds like I'm talking to a junkie, like who's putting on a show. And like she is putting on a show. She's not a particularly good actor. No offense to that to this person, but I'm just like, that's what makes the scene work so strangely. And Polanski's ability to recognize that, like, there's nobody. We can talk all day long about, Polanski, the person and his problems, but like his incredible sense of what upsets you is pretty much unparalleled. Like every movie he has ever made, like, has that tone, and you can't even describe why it is that tone.
That's right.
But
From Knife in the Water on,
Knife in the Water
gets
on.
that layer of something that is so hard to.
Yeah, like.
And I'm wondering, I think one of the things that he does that I noticed watching it a couple times this week again is it's the little character things, like when they're in the elevator and the guy who's showing the place pulls a little hair off the elevator operator's shoulder.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, why? It's so weird.
What is that? Yes,
it's
exactly.
You just crust, and it's the whole place.
It just makes you feel awkward.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
and so there's all these little things that are in it that really just kind of.
There's no one thing that's making you feel.
But if you put
lots of things.
Yeah, and I think the one thing he took from Hitchcock was when she was in the phone booth, and there's a guy's back of the head. It looks like Kissinger, and he's just there. But it's just this kind of weird head and body, and it's just kind of rocking back and forth. And it's just like he just puts people and makes them do things that are
there's
kind
the
of
classic
just a little
shot of Ruth Gordon on the bed answering the phone, and her face is cut off by the door frame. Like, you see the whole rest of her body. She's on the phone, and you're like, what?
The best is when she's on the phone towards the end of the movie and all the people are sneaking through.
Oh, it makes me laugh out loud.
Oh my God.
But that's the whole thing. It's just like, what? Yeah. And there's always, and the awkwardness of the guy's like, that bureau doesn't belong there.
Why?
Like,
this is really strange. That guy's amazing.
But that's so much like New York. Like, it's very.
Yeah. I'd like to actually pinpoint that dude. That guy who was on Star Trek a couple of times. Like, he's a great old character actor.
Yes.
But he is he's in such showman mode, but he's also totally disassociated from what's happening. Like, he's just like, oh, well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He's just rattling on. And the conversation he is having seems to have nothing to do with the conversation that they're trying to have.
It's actually happening.
Yeah. It's unbelievably good. But yeah, exactly right.
The other...
Here's a story about what's her name, Victoria Vetri. Apparently, Victoria Vetri became very close with Sharon Tate.
Oh no!
During who was Roman Polanski's wife, as we know, during the filming of Rosemary's Baby. And on the night of August 8th and 9th, 1969, Tate invited Vetri to Polanski's house. When the director was away, she declined because she wasn't feeling well.
Oh my God!
And that was the night she was killed by Charles Manson.
Yeah.
So, as we all know, that's a story based on what we saw from what's it called? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Anyway,
right.
Okay, let's back to the movie. Where are we? Right. So they're doing laundry. Meets this young woman. Says these are great couple.
And she shows him a necklace. She shows her a necklace.
She says, they gave me this pendant. And it's like this necklace. And it's like, huh. and he says it's got some herbs in it, and it's like, it smells terrible. And he goes, yeah, it's tannis root. That's what they say. And it says it's supposed to be ward off evil things or whatever, right? And so, anyway, that's about it. Then they leave and they make an agreement. It's like, oh, why don't we come together next time to do laundry together because this place is really creepy. And they're like, yes. And they hear a crashing sound. It's not good.
Yeah,
right?
like it's a spooky place. Like you get the idea that there are people watching them all the time. Like there's passages in this place that you don't know about. It's bad news. The whole place is villainous.
Okay. So now they're back in their apartment. They're back in an apartment, and they're in bed, and they can hear the couple talking again, right? But then it turns to chanting.
Yeah, like what they listen to weird music? What is this? Yeah,
right. I mean, we all know where this is going, but
of course,
still,
like, then this is part of the fun of the movie, right? It's like that it's real, like this is happening, right? But Farrow is so convincingly guileless the whole time that it's like 75% of the movie's done. She's like, no, you're like, yeah. They're chanting next door. I'd be like, boop, 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 boop.
So they had a
yeah. That's
all right. Okay. So now they're walking home, and as they get near the apartment, there's a whole commotion of people, and there are cops there. Turns out that they see the young lady from the laundry room has jumped to her death. And it's like, that was quick. So she didn't really have that much of a role in this movie.
Right. And no, it didn't.
It's literally just one scene, and then
and then she's dead. And it's like it's a big, beautiful. Like it's really what's great is that like it's classic Hollywood like red paint for blood stuff, but it's so spattery and nasty, and it's half of her face. And like when they reveal it, they don't just sort of like ride up on it and show you. Like it cuts to this handheld close up. Yeah. And it's really, I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
It's a little jarring.
Yeah. It's
even though the blood color is completely wrong, it's very jarring.
Yeah, it really gets me every time. And the scene itself reminds me very much of Third Man. Yeah, like there's a little bit of a Third Man element to that. I think it's pretty fantastic. Like it's the scene with the little boy going, you, I saw them. They're outside the apartment. And just like, oh, fuck. It's
Have you guys realized, like, did you ever think when you watch this that something that comes up later, and if you want, I'll bring it up later, but that being John Malkovich, the whole movie about the small people was pretty much like The Neighbors when she opened the book.
Right.
Right? Exactly. They're the same thing.
It was the same thing. Yeah. I was like, God, it just reminded
Ralph
me.
Bellamy, you get Orson Bean. Yeah, it's like, it's hysterical. Yeah, it's great. It's funny as hell. Oh man, yeah, because it's the same beautiful like cultish nature of like both movies do a great job of taking like the the weird little sort of shaky, sketchy things that older folks of that generation do, like with the mints and the thing. It's like the way your grandmother would act, and they make that all part of the cult vibe. Like it's like they never stop acting like your grandparents, but they're just like, what if your grandparents act that way because they're Satanists? And it's incredibly good. It's unbelievable. It's both really funny and really sinister at the same time. They're really incredible.
Right. So at this know Rosemary says, I know her, so she's contributing to help the cops. That's trying to gives her her name. That says she was staying with these people. They're in this apartment. Goes that we already know where she was, and so suddenly the couple show up, right?
Walking down the street together, apart from everybody else.
Completely innocent. They walk in there, and they're like, "What's going on?"
The Castavets. Here they are.
The Castavets, yes. Minnie Castavet and Roman Castavet.
Yes. And Roman Castavet, the sickest pink outfit you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre, dude.
Oh, it's so
just
fantastic.
Walking down that street was like,
what's happened here?
Right.
Yeah, we didn't arrange this. What are you talking about?
Right. And so they talk to him, and this is the first time they actually meet, right?
Mm-hmm. This is
Right.
it. And now, I guess my question is like the way I read it, and tell me if this is right, is that the Castevets were grooming the girl who died
Mhm.
to have the daughter of Satan, right?
That's right.
Right.
She took her life.
And instead she killed herself, and probably there was an association with a woman who formerly had that apartment that the young couple is now in, because like I feel like there's a like that woman, like she could no longer in good conscience do this to the woman who then later kills herself. So like there's an implied backstory there, and
Yes.
I think that at this point the Castevets do not know anything about who has taken over that apartment. And when they meet um, the couple for the first time, they're not quite dismissive, but they definitely don't show any particular notable interest until Rosemary says, "Oh yeah, her brother's in the Navy," right?
Right.
And they're like, "How did you know something so personal about this person?" And then they see her. Then they essentially see Rosemary for the first time
Right.
and go like, "Maybe we have another candidate." Like,
Right. Right.
Yeah, you get that because she's like, "You're so beautiful, darling."
Yeah. Oh, and that's what I mean. It's like Ruth Gordon is so incredible. Both her and the guy playing Roman are
Judd
so
Apatow?
great. Yeah, Judd Apatow. It's a very early
Yeah.
role from it, but he looks great. Yeah, but like she's so like in the way that grandparents can be sort of like forcefully attentive. Like the touching. Oh no, dear, you have to do this. Yeah, blah blah. You look so lovely. Your long bones. Blah blah blah. Like, and the overwhelmingness of that kind of well-meaning idea, right? But the tone, in this context, the tone feels like they are looking over a piece of meat. They're like, oh, they look at the marbling on this thing, like
Yeah, a little
because
bit
it's
like
year
us.
one. They had to
Yeah.
get it done.
Do you remember like us?
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
When the woman is like checking out her boyfriend, like, huh? Yeah.
This is not great. This is a surprise.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay. Okay. So that at this point, she's home alone. Mrs. Castevet comes over to check her out. Darling, to see the apartment. Let me see what you did with the place.
Oh my God. Like you know what was even more haunting than the fact that she was having Satan's baby was having these fucking people like constantly knock on your door. Like just that was pissing me off.
Exactly.
Like just stop knocking on my door.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
can I come in? It's like, no, you can't come in. It's unbelievably annoying. And that was the other thing on this view. I was like, God, I want to punch this woman. Just so stay great. Out of my life.
Like that insistence, that like polite insistence constantly is the sign of devil worshippers. Like that's that's what the movie is saying. And like even and what's his name? The husband, Rosemary's husband, like Guy before the deal is made, like he calls it immediately. He's just like, we can't invite them over, honey.
They'll be over all the time.
They'll be over all the time. And he's totally right.
Except that he's the one that's making it much worse. By the way, yes. Dave Fruity says that Victoria Vecchi turned down the title role of Lolita.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm thankful because Sue Lyon, who ended up playing that role, he's a very good actor. Yes. Victoria Vecchi.
Did she really turn it down, or she's just saying that?
Yeah, I turned it down through Mr. Kubrick's denial of my talents. Yeah, I don't know her at all. But I don't feel that bad if she's in jail for murder. Like she's just not a very good actor. But yes, Sue Lyon is terrific.
Okay, and then the other thing he did is so she invites them over. It's like, I've got a 2-inch steak that's defrosting. You and your husband got to come by for dinner. Right?
You gotta come by,
darling.
Right. Yeah. And so they do this whole thing. They invite him over for dinner. Husband comes home. Sits down on the couch. She brings him a beer and a snack. He explains how he lost the role to a movie. Right.
Yes. Right.
or a movie or a play or something.
Yeah, it's a movie, and it's the big. I think actually it's a play, but it's the kind of play that can really put him on the map, even if the play is bad. Right.
By the way, don't the productions that he was in sound like something I would make up?
Oh yeah, Nobody Loves an Albatross.
Yeah, that is totally me. I was like, wait a minute, that's my gig.
I love that. That's a good one.
Fake names.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Nobody Loves an Albatross. Yeah, no shit.
Nobody loves an annoying lady living next door.
And,
I love albatrosses though.
yeah, because and every time someone asks about his career, she says exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's like a recited line.
Yes.
My husband's an actor. He's been in this thing and this thing and this thing, and he's also on TV.
Yes. Yeah. and like it's so when he doesn't get the part, like you suddenly feel the impending weight of their financial situation sort of hits him. Like he's
Yes.
like, oh
yes.
fuck.
Right.
Like we're on the hook for a really expensive apartment because I
Right.
thought I was gonna have a breakthrough, and now I'm quite fucked.
Right.
Yeah, there is that. That's why he signs up with the devil.
That's why he said
Well, yes. No shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
we'll
movie.
get to
That's
that.
why the movie.
And that's why the
Yes.
movie happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously that's the case. Okay, so they decide. So let's go to dinner, and he says no. If we do that, they're going to be over all the time. And she goes,
Yeah.
but we really, I think that we're really good friends with the person who used to live here, and it would be, let's just say, okay, just this one time we'll go over for dinner, right? Okay, so
Settle in for some dinner and drinks.
right, settle in for some dinner and drinks.
Castanets.
So it's at the Castavets, he makes them these very tall drinks, which are
yeah.
weird.
Oh, I
awkward-
seem to have overfilled these glasses.
I seem to have overfilled these glasses.
They're absolutely brimming. Like it's like the meniscus is above the rim of the
Yeah, I know.
Which is, by the way, in Japan is the correct way to serve.
Oh, it's beautiful. If you can put the thing is like if you can put the glass down without spilling it, then that's the classy maneuver. That's why martini glasses are so insidious. Like they make it impossible to drink without sloshing, and it sort of polices the level of your drinkiness.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey, I heard an interesting little story. I didn't really realize this about martinis and James Bond.
What's that?
So we all know that James Bond likes his martinis, a vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. Right? Now, I find that's ridiculous because a shaken martini is
It's a watery martini.
It's a watery martini, right? And I prefer, to have a stirred martini because therefore it doesn't bruise gin. Plus, I like gin better than. Anyway, the reason he had it shaken, not stirred, and had it vodka is because he didn't want it to smell like alcohol. Number one. Number two, he wanted it to be very watery so he wouldn't be affected by the alcohol, especially the top drinks.
Yes.
So it was actually a way for him to.
It's a spy trick.
It's a spy trick.
It's a spy trick. I love that. That's pretty great. I accept that. That seems reasonable. That's
So I was like, okay. Because I thought he was like, oh, you like shitty martinis. Oh, no.
It's amazing that movie got everyone to start ordering it that way. And it's like, that's
It's a shitty martini.
Martini, dude. That's
Yeah.
not the way to
But
roll.
it's just funny. They think it's a classy way to order
Yes.
martinis.
Shaken, not stirred. Okay. Do you want me to put an extra fifth of water in there as well?
Right. Anyway, okay, so where was he? Oh, right. So they're having their dinner. Apparently the dinner tasted horrible,
Mm-hmm.
right? Really
Well,
poor-
and they start this whole like very clever little thing where it's like the European attitude of the Castavets, right?
right.
They're like,
Name a place I've been there. Name a place
I've been there. Oh, I've been there. I've been to Alaska. I've been to like all this sort of weird bragginess. And like when they give them food, and they're constantly feeding Rosemary throughout the entire movie.
Right.
Like there's this weird sort of like it's from another place on the earth. That's why it tastes strange. Like this drink that I'm giving you it's from Australia. So you can see them like when they take a sip of it, they're like, this is a little bit fucking weird, whatever this is. But because it's from Australia, it's very cosmopolitan to drink it here.
Right.
And so they let it pass when it's just like, this tastes like shit. Like it clearly tastes like shit. They don't want to drink it, but they're drinking it to be polite. And
Right.
that, the politeness gag
the politeness gag
is how the devil gets you. Like this, like it, nobody wants
don't want to hurt their feelings.
don't want to offend anyone.
Right.
Exactly. So no one says it how it really is.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like there's a line in Girl with a Dragon Tattoo when what's his name, Daniel Craig, James Bond, he has found out who the murderer is. he has gone to the murderer's house to find evidence of his murderousness. The murderer comes home and catches James Bond trying to run away from the house, and then pretends like everything's fine and very polite. It's like, oh, come in for a drink. And Daniel Craig's like, okay. And then
but even though he has clear evidence that he is the murderer, and yet he still goes in.
And then when the serial killer captures him, he says to Daniel Craig, it's like, it's so funny how like the fear of being impolite will overwhelm the fear of pain. But there it is. Like this, like people would rather be impolite, rather be in pain than be impolite. And all of Rosemary's Baby hinges on this very thing. Like the Castevets are incredibly pushy and insinuative and constantly.
I really did want to shoot her.
Oh,
just drown her in Central Park in the lake
exactly.
There.
And like, and she's she's so like,
honey,
you don't want to make her feel bad. And the few times that Rosemary like puts her off or says maybe some other time, she's like, oh well, of course, you're just hurting an old lady, and you're like, oh Christ.
Yeah, so good.
It's amazing.
So good. Yeah, and the food, you can tell the steak is overcooked. She's having a hard time cutting it. Like it's just
everything's wrong.
Everything's wrong.
Yeah.
Everything's wrong. Right. Anyway, and then by the way, apparently Mia. Well, I'm gonna get to that in a second. So then there's another classic scene. I've been all these scenes of the women in the kitchen doing the dishes while the men are in the living room smoking cigarettes. Right.
Yep.
Loads of this.
Yeah, loads of it.
Lots of that stuff. So they are in the kitchen. They are cleaning the dishes, the two women. You know that you just see that the men are in the living room because all you see is like cigarette smoke from the doorway, right?
Right.
But they're chatting there. You have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
That's an important part of it, obviously.
It's they've successfully separated Rosemary and her husband. And so Ruth Gordon is talking to Rosemary separately, and the men are having some men discussion somewhere else.
Right.
And that's where the deal goes down.
That's where the deal goes down, right? But you don't know that. So they leave, finally. They go back. They laugh about the quality of the meal, right? And hold on a second. All right, they laugh about the quality of the meal. But then the husband says, oh, wait, I got to go back. I got to talk some more. Right? Doesn't he do that? Right.
Yeah, but suddenly now he wants to hang out with them.
Now he wants to hang out with them all the time.
Like prior to the dinner, like he's like, oh fuck that, I don't want like old people in our lives, that sucks. And now he's just like, oh yeah, Minnie and Roman.
Yeah, Minnie and Roman.
Yeah, that's right.
Hang out with them all the time.
Yeah.
And then she asks, like, I wonder why they took all the pictures down.
Yeah, exactly. There's like one picture and it doesn't fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like this, like the set design of their apartment is so hysterically funny. Like it's basically a grandmother's version of Dracula's castle. You know?
That is a good point.
and nobody's saying anything. You're just like, this is really weird. Like no one's gonna say this is weird. This is very weird. But no one wants to offend, and that's why they get trapped.
Yep. Okay. At this point, at one point, she's home alone. She's listening to records and reading a book. She's having her me time, right? The doorbell rings, and it's Minnie and this other woman with the weird glasses.
Another one you want to punch.
Oh, yeah. She's awesome, man. You really hate her. She's so annoying.
And they just sort of like, I gotta show her the apartment. Do you mind? And then just barge right into the house. And it's like, okay. And then they say, it's like,
let's. And they bring their needlepoint.
And they sit down and they bring their needlepoint and they start knitting in the living room. Like, let's do this because this is what ladies do. We sit around doing our needlepoint and knit and gossip.
Right. Yep.
And she's like, but yeah.
But it's because they force this. These patterns into their lives. You know, it's just like men talk in the smoking room about important things, and women go and do these things, and they come in with all their friends and force that to be the case.
Right.
Like they just make it happen, and it's unavoidable. Like you're just like, fuck, you know, like Minnie comes plowing in there, and she doesn't stop talking the whole time.
Right.
You know? And like she doesn't like there's a scene where she is closing the door still talking to Rosemary, and Minnie is the one who's closing the door. She closes the door on her own sentence.
Right.
Where you're just like, do you ever shut up? Is that even possible?
Right.
Yeah. But it's actually her mechanism to keep people from reacting. Like,
Right.
she fills the room constantly. And that's her method of manipulation. And so, like, methods of manipulation are key to how Polanski makes the movie work. Like how Rosemary's husband manipulates her, how she manipulates him for what she wants, and how the Castavets like barge in and make everybody do their bidding all the time.
Yeah. Also, Dave Reese said that also Bond wanted his martinis shaken because it's harder to spike them with a foreign substance. Stirring can be done away from the customer, but shaken then poured happens in front of the customer.
More spy stuff. I love it.
More spy stuff.
Yep.
Right.
Love it. That's great.
So, all right.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
yes.
great. That's a good one.
So then Minnie gives her a charm, exactly the same charm as she gave the other woman. That's
The stinky one.
The stinky one. So that's an interesting thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then she doesn't want to wear it because it stinks. Right?
Puts it aside. Yeah, fuck this
Puts
thing.
it aside, and her husband is like, but you'll offend them if you don't wear it.
Yeah, you'll offend them.
Right?
Yeah. I'm going to wear something that smells like fungus
Right.
because I don't want to offend someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, man. It smells like dirty toes. Like, and they point it out so often that like you start to smell it in the movie. You're like, I know what that must smell like. That's like a rain.
I know.
Shoe.
There's that reaction that you feel, even though you've never smelled it.
Yeah, it's really something.
It's got a polyester feel to it. Remember polyester when he shoves the shoe in her face.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's so good, so good.
You guys don't know, polyester was originally a scratch and sniff film, right? It came with cards.
That's right. In Odorama.
In Odorama, and you had numbers like whenever something smelly was happening, there was a number on the screen, and you had to scratch that number and smell it. so silly. Okay. So
John Waters, by the way, is directing a new movie.
I heard
18 years off of his book. That just
what was the last movie that he directed?
And like what, Serial Mom, maybe?
No, Serial Mom. No, he did. No, what's the one? Low Down Dirty. No, yeah, Low Down Dirty Shame was the last one.
Yeah.
But then what was the one? I know, but what was the one with the boy from the kid from Terminator 2?
Edward
Packer.
Furlong. Yeah, Packer. That's right. With the photographer one.
Yeah, that one was one of the better ones he did later because Low Down Dirty Shame was not that good.
Yeah,
it was Johnny Knoxville and Tracy Ullman, right?
Yeah, like he's like most artists, he just got a little softer, kinder edge to him as he got older, and that doesn't do him any favors.
I disagree because I think sometimes he does some, like when he did Hairspray. Hairspray was really good.
Oh,
that was just softer, right? And so
it
was
had
Serial
a kinder
Mom.
message. Yeah, exactly.
And so was Serial Mom. Serial Mom was really good.
Yeah, but I think that and Crybaby. Yeah, I like
Crybaby.
Yeah, but like he gets a little bit. And this happened to Woody Allen, and this it's just like they lose some of their sharpness, and I think it's hard. I don't know why it's hard to hang on to for people, but
you can't keep making pink flamingos and
pink flamingos
and female trouble.
But do you need to if you've made stuff that cool? I mean,
sure, it's true. It's true. It's just like I so much of my, and this is just a personal thing. It's just like I admire that kind of transgressiveness so much that I'm always a little bit sad when things get. It's just like it's cute. This is now cute, but like I miss the old Divine and the poodle where you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
that's the stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Okay, so let's see what else is happening. So so she got the charm. Right. He gets home. He gets a phone call that the guy who suddenly was supposed to play his role has gone blind.
Weird.
The guy took the role away from him, has gone blind.
Yes.
Oh no. So now
which is like, it's one thing if he was in a car accident, then you'd be like, oh, I guess that just happens.
But there's such a biblical thing about it.
Yeah.
It's like he went blind.
He woke up.
He was smote.
Yeah.
He was smote by the forces of the devil. Yes.
Yeah.
When he later talks on the phone with her, do you recognize what the voice was?
No.
It is Tony Curtis.
Oh, is it
No.
really? Yes.
Tony Curtis. And they didn't tell Mia Farrow when they did the scene because they used the live recording from the phone. And you can see her trying to figure out who the fuck this is. Like, I know this voice, but it is in fact.
Why was it Tony Curtis?
It's like a gag. They pulled him off to set for one day. You know, he's a much more famous person in those days, obviously.
Right.
And she couldn't, like, she said, like, I couldn't quite place him. And,
Right.
But no, I was just watching. I was like, I believe that's Tony Curtis. I looked it up, and it was a practical joke they did.
Wow. There you go. Tony
It's pretty
Curtis. Interesting. All right. And so then she comes home. She's been feeling like he's been distant for a while. He's been sort of dismissive of her.
Mhm.
And so he has all these roses everywhere and says, let's have a baby.
Let's do this right now.
Let's do this right now. And he's like, look, I even put it on the calendar, like all ready to go.
Mhm.
Right. And so she's very excited because she wants to start a family.
Mhm.
And so they start making a romantic dinner. They're going to have everything and they're doing their normal thing. And then the doorbell rings. I was like, no. It's like, don't worry. I'll get rid of them. Let's, you know. And so he goes to talk to them and he's like, don't let him in.
This is a perfect example of Rosemary's great flaw because she doesn't say, don't answer it. Like, we're having a romantic dinner. Don't answer it. Right. Because she knows it's a fucking Castavets. She knows it. Right.
Right.
Instead, she makes this sort of like plea, like, oh, do we really have to
the
kind
gods.
of stuff? And then she whispers to herself what she really wants.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite of what she's allowed to have happen.
Right.
You know, she does not she does not take control, and that's why she is open for abuse. And that's
I'm curious
what
to
happens.
talk to you about the ending now.
Yes, it's very interesting.
It's really strange.
Yeah.
Punji is, by the way, is the name of the John Waters film that's coming out, but he's working on.
Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
Okay, so they, apparently instead of barging in, they decided to drop off dessert.
That's
so
right.
A couple of chocolate mousses. I was like,
Mhm.
they gave us dessert. Look at that. These look delicious. Here's
As Mimi would
yours.
say, yeah,
Here's
chocolate mouse.
yours, and
Yes.
here's mine.
Yes.
Make sure that she
Yes.
gets the right one.
Yeah, put the one with the doily is the decaf. That's how you know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so she starts to eat it, and she goes, "It's got a weird chocolate
Chalky undertaste.
chalky undertaste." And he's like,
undertaste.
"I don't like it. I'm not going to eat it."
Oh, you gotta eat it.
Yeah,
She made it. You
She
can't
made it
offend
for
her.
you. You can't offend her. And it was so weird how he just like it starts to be pushy about
Yeah,
it.
this guy, and then he's like, "Fine. I mean, you don't have to eat it. It's fine. You don't have to eat it." And she's like, "Oh, I don't have to. I'll eat it. I'll eat it." And the reverse psychology makes her eat
reverse psychology. And then so she does, and then she eats a little bit of it, and then she hides the rest in
her napkin.
and pretends that she ate the whole thing.
Yep.
Right. At which point she starts walking down the hall, and you know they need to go make a baby, but she walks on. She starts feeling really dizzy,
Right.
and he picks her up and puts her in bed and starts to undress her so she's more comfortable.
Mhm.
Right. And she's basically passing out. Right.
Now, do you think that's because the moose was drugged?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not. Listen, the fact that this thing is so obvious is not what makes it scary.
That's what makes it funny. Like, like the joy of it is like the things that are happening are so obvious to the audience that that you're going, please, please, just be aware of what is happening around you.
But here's the thing: was it really aware to the audience in 1966?
I think it's well. To be fair, yeah, I think it's a little on the fence because in this way, like
because it wasn't as cliche back then as it is now.
But even then they play it up and it's very pointed when it happens, right? And I think what's going on really is that what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you aware of the cliche enough so you think, I wonder if this is really happening or I'm just being put into the position of thinking it's happening, right? And so like in the end, it's not, none of it was real, versus like, oh, it must be an actual plot. And I think that like that's what he's having fun with is like, how much do you yourself walking into the movie believe in this nonsense? And because like once hear interviews with Polanski, like there's a similarity between this and Richard Donner's The Omen, right? And I love The Omen. I think The Omen is hysterical fun. And Richard Donner is like this movie, like what's funny to like this movie is incredibly fun to me and incredibly funny because I'm making a movie for people who believe in the supernatural when nothing supernatural happens in the movie. And from Donner's point of view, he's like, it was my job to convince the audience to be on the side of Gregory Peck, who is going to be murdering his son. Right. And if we can bring the audience over on that, then that's the real horror movie.
Okay, so if that was his singular focus while he was making the film, what do you think Polanski's was?
Well, with Polanski, I think that he is just he is having fun riding the line. I think that like for some, he's aware.
But what's the line? Is what I'm saying. If his goal, if Donner's goal was to, put that spin on the fact that he's going to kill his son,
right?
What is that singular sentence that he was constantly reminding himself on, and how he shot things?
Right. I think that what it's saying there is like what he's asking the audience is how baked in is your belief in what her situation is. Like,
but you knew that nobody was going to believe her because she was very fey, like
right, exactly.
And that's a little typecasting too, because she was kind of wealthy and little.
Well, I think there's something. It's like how Stanley Kubrick. We've brought this up before. It's like Stanley Kubrick cast Ryan O'Neal and Barry Lyndon because Ryan O'Neal, forgive me, Ryan, you're like he's not of the same acting caliber as the rest of the cast. Right. And that is what makes it work. Just like with the Laundromat Woman, it's like he is so out of his depth in all these scenes that it becomes very funny that everyone else is like, you're a fucking boob. Like, you're an idiot. And the audience is feeling it as well. And with, so there's a cruelty to it in casting like that, but there's an accuracy that's hard to get around. And I think that there's a little bit of that in how Polanski feels about Farrow. Like, I think that Farrow, I think he sees Farrow a little tiny bit like she's charming and she's sexy and it's great, but he sees that she is a manipulative person in real life, and that's the opinion he seems to have. And he's
Polanski?
Polanski feels like this is a tricky person. Like, she's attractive and she's funny and she's charming, but he cast her because she does this thing so well of like getting people to act in the way that she needs them to act to support her. And I think that that's true for, say, her choices in her life and how she interacted with other famous people and why, what's her name wrote the song about her with, beware young girls. Like, she's a very smart and very canny person in a kind of dangerous way, in a soft but dangerous way. And I think that's why you cast her. Like, she's incredibly effective at it. She's a natural. And she is like both the hero of the movie in terms of like, she is the one who is suffering, but she's also kind of in that she tries to control the scene through indirect means constantly. That's actually the thing that fucks her over later. Like, because she's unable to control things directly. She uses every tool at her disposal to control them indirectly. And that ends up empowering the people that she's fighting against.
Right.
So I think that Polanski's aware of that. And so like when you look at how the setup of the movie lies, like he's picking her on purpose to see if she can sort of maneuver her way out of the situation, the character. And Farrow is particularly deft at delivering this. And so his idea is like, how sensitive are you as an audience member? Not to the supernaturalness of it, but to is this real or not is the question of the movie. And what it says about you to believe one thing over the other is the horror movie for you. Like, is this metaphorical about feminism, or is this actual about your spiritual feelings? Because Christianity was a big deal back then. And he's trying to push the audience gently one way or the other to freak them out. And I think you get two different audiences experiencing this movie.
Yes. Okay, so where were we? Okay, right. So she's passed out in bed, right? And he's Then we go into a dream sequence, which was one of the best.
It's the great dream sequence of all time. It is
Yes.
it's like this and David Lynch movies. That's it.
Right. It's amazing.
By the way, if you guys know Helmut Newton, the photographer,
Yeah, great photography.
like
yeah.
there's so much I saw of like Newton in there. This kind of this kind of like this strange kind of surreal sexuality and it was really, it's like, God, that's Helmut Newton.
Newton's
Poor
spectacular.
Helmut Newton.
Yeah, because actually I think about this dream sequence or the dream sequences in the movie all the time, and like the tools he uses to make it work. They're just little. It's like with how he makes things creepy. It's like these little tiny choices that add up.
Right.
And so there's an immediate sense of realism with the photography. Like he uses a wide angle lens. He's sort of like always active with the camera. But then like he mutes the sound and intentionally dubs things and has other non-diegetic.
Yeah, the sound design is really
perfect.
Right.
I thought if we were going to deep fake any film, it would be us in the dream sequence.
Yeah, yeah.
Just I want to be this captain who goes, look,
on the
over
boat.
there.
Right.
And then turns around.
Yeah, with the binoculars.
So the way that the dream sequence
Dan, you can
starts
be
off
her
is-
in a bikini.
I will definitely do that.
Yeah.
I will do that. Yeah, absolutely.
the way that the dream sequence works is that she's in bed, she's starting to pass out, but the bed is everything around her is the bed in water. Like she
Yes.
imagines she's floating in water,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Which is very surreal. And then she's on a boat, and then just surrounded by a bunch of old people on the boat. Let's all these strange, weird old people on the boat.
And
right?
the captain turns into Roman Castevet.
Yes.
And the elevator operator is the first mate.
Right.
And he's like, "You had best get below, miss."
You best get below this. Right.
And it's so, and you're hearing the whole time. You're hearing muted other dialogue,
Right.
which is actually coming from what is
Reality.
really happening around her.
Right. Right. And then there's some Sistine Chapel stuff that they threw in there.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
It's like it comes up off her face and then and you're just with your
She's in the Sistine Chapel, but it's not the real Sistine Chapel. You can tell it's a
it's got. I don't think the Sistine Chapel would fucking let them within 20 feet of this movie. No way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. She's up on like the a painting scaffold,
right?
And it pans off down the length of the ceiling. Really beautiful. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, she's on it looks like she's on a rack somehow, right?
Yeah, it's really great.
And then she's still in bed. She can see things, but she thinks she's dreaming, right? She's surrounded by old people that are all naked around her, right?
Yep. And it is just a disturbing shot to be looking down Mia Farrow's body at a bunch of naked old people,
right? Staring at her.
Yeah, which it's upsetting in every which way.
Right.
And they're kind of sexy in a weird way. Right?
I mean, hey man, I definitely love the one. I love Ruth Gordon. Yeah. Ever since the Harold and Maude, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Right. And then the husband's there, and he says, "I think she's awake. She's awake." And Minnie says, "No. If she ate the moose, she's not awake."
The mouse.
Ate the mouse. She's not awake. Yeah, exactly.
Ate the mouse. She's not awake.
Yeah. And so like obviously she did not eat enough of the mouse.
Right.
Yeah. Because she has the great line, the classic Rosemary's Baby line, "This is no dream.
This is really happening to me."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what's happening is that someone is on top of her, and turns out you can see, but you don't really see the person, but you can see it's got monstrous hands and monster eyes. That's about all you see.
Yep.
But she is getting raped by a monster.
Yes. Yeah.
And she is doesn't quite know what's going on.
And what he's the master of is like all this stuff. Like it has all the tropes of a Hollywood horror movie, in terms of like it's like this is what you'd see in The Devil's Reign or any of this stuff, and big like monster mittens on and whatever. But at the same time, like the goofiness adds to the surreality of it. Like it sort of admits that it's silly and then makes it scary. Like it's really, really wild. How it's like we were saying the same thing with Blonde, where it's like Blonde uses its the corny Marilyn imagery that everyone knows, to the effect of getting at real painful emotions. And this is the same thing here. He's just like, this stuff, like, this is basically a werewolf costume, and we are going to fucking freak you out with it.
Right.
Just amazing.
Yeah. So really, really freaky. Anyway, she then wakes up in bed, in her normal bed.
Mm-hmm.
She's naked, but she wakes up, and we've always established that she goes to bed naked.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But she wakes up, and as she gets out of bed, you can see there's all these scratches on her side, her back.
This is the worst of Cassavetes for me.
This is it. This is when you're like,
I guess give it a shot.
You're a fucking villain.
Yes.
Like, if
And
there's no monsters, you're
and she
a
goes,
villain.
"What happened?" And she looks at all these scratches, and he looks at her and goes, "I swear I filed them down this morning." Like, he's looking at his fingers. And she goes,
she's
"What?"
like,
He goes, "Well, I didn't want to miss baby's night."
Yeah.
And she goes,
Yeah.
"But you could have waited till this morning or later." He goes, it was kind of fun in a necrophilia kind of way. It was bizarre.
That's like walk out of the apartment right there stuff.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the
And the
fuck
fact
are
that
you
she
doing?
doesn't is like,
Exactly. Like, he plays it off like it's a silly joke, and she's like, I guess. And you're like,
Yeah, and she goes,
my
I
friend.
dreamt that I was being raped. And he goes,
Yeah.
"Well, that's kind of so nice of you." And I was like,
You're the like, again,
Right.
if there's no monster and it's just him, he's still a fucking horrible person.
"Oh my God." I know.
He's
I know,
a
it's
hideous,
really
hideous
bad.
pig. Yeah.
Anyway, at this point,
smiling guy.
this is where he really starts.
what point in the film do you realize, or at least on your second or third viewing, that you start to realize that, you know what, no one will ever believe her?
Yeah, there's just no way out. There's just no way out. Like, everyone she meets,
You just feel like, yeah, everyone's just going to look like Charles Grodin, like you're just freaking
when
batshit
Charles
crazy.
Grodin, it's like, not when later on when the Charles Grodin reveal happens, but when Charles Grodin agrees to help her, I was like, she's fucked.
Oh, well, that's to me, that's the exact same scene from The Tenant, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, right.
Because
like, this is the kind of thing where if someone, like, the moment someone in a movie like this, right? This, because I actually just watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers in '79 with Donald Sutherland. Like, the moment, what a fucking incredible movie that is. The moment someone who you are on the fence about says, "I believe you," in a movie like this, you're dead.
Yeah.
That's it. That's like cough cancer. Like, it's exactly the same thing. Like, Leonard Nimoy in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, after they give him the big spiel, he goes, "You know what, David? I believe you." And you're like, they're all gonna fucking get eaten. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
This is the false hope moment, and now they're screwed. It's amazing.
Okay. So as you said, she now goes to the doctor to see if she's pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically says, "I bet you're pregnant." It's like, "You don't know that," etc. And they make a bet for $25 about whether she's pregnant or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to the doctor and she sees,
"I'll bet you $25 that I'll rape you at night. Nobody will know."
Seriously.
And I'll scratch your back.
Yeah.
Come on.
well, maybe not me, but someone I know will.
Somebody I know. He lives up the hall. "I bet you $25 you're going to get raped by the devil." I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. That's a
Let's
phrase.
go watch me on TV with Yamaha.
We used to say that in Queens all the time.
I gotta act. I gotta get back to my acting. And his acting is like he's got to play someone with crutches, and he's just walking around with crutches all day long. Which is that is how much he has.
Acting.
It's such a parody of method acting. Is exactly what it is.
Hysterically funny.
It's really funny.
God. Like,
it's a really big role for you.
Yeah, it's a really big role. And I love because he, like, Cassavetes is a great actor and he's awesome in this movie. But I love when great actors are playing actors who are bad actors. Like, that's one of my favorite gags.
Well, that's the best way to play a bad actor, is to do that.
It's so funny.
Well, we talked about this on Naomi Watts. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. So then she goes to see Charles Grodin, who plays the doctor, and he's like, "Yep, you're pregnant, but I need you to we're gonna set you up with all these vitamins and stuff like that, whatever." And so she comes home and gets a phone call saying, "Yes, you're pregnant," but the good news is she's very excited, very happy about it, and goes, but I want you to come back in. I need to do some more blood work, something about your blood sugar. He goes, more blood work. Okay. It's like, but does this mean I'm not pregnant? It's like, no, you're definitely pregnant. It's just that I need to do more blood work. As he explains, she goes,
Right.
blood work. So she goes to a calendar, writes down
blood sugar or
blood.
something.
Like that's
Right.
my favorite. It's such a great horror movie shot. Just like blood written in red.
Written in red on the calendar in the kitchen. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Right. And so this is the one that really gets to me, right? So the husband comes home and she's holding a quarter out for him, meaning that she lost the bet and that announcing to him that she's pregnant.
Right.
He goes, and he looks at her and goes, what's this? He goes, you were right. And he goes, oh yeah, great. Like
Yeah.
the way he reacts to her being pregnant is like,
oh, that's
practically
great. It's so
pushing
fun.
her away as she's announcing that she's
Like,
pregnant. He
actually leaves. He like goes to put his coat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
To tell him.
What the fuck?
yeah,
That's an instant hug situation if there ever was one. And here you're
Right.
like, oh, I'm just gonna go sneak.
gonna put my whole coat down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to tell the neighbors. That's the.
Well, hold on. Yeah, but the thing that's interesting is like I can't tell if he has remorse for what he's done to her.
He's disgusted by her.
He's disgusted
He's
by her.
disgusted by her. That is
Yeah.
what's going on. He is. I don't think that guy is capable of actual remorse whatsoever. I think he's a pure narcissist, and everything is through the lens of how it affects him. Like he's not. I can't believe I did this to my wife because he was in the fucking room. Like
Right.
we better believe it. Like he wants her to be unconscious so she doesn't remember that he was there. Like
Right.
he wants to get away with it. Like,
Right.
Yeah, and you can tell how weak he is because at the end he's kind of hiding in the corner, covering his
he's
face.
what a weasel. Oh
Yeah.
man, this actually, not to go off on a big tangent, but it'll be a very small tangent with and not to get super political, but with everything going on with Trump and the January 6th committee. And
Can't
all this
believe we're
kind of stuff.
still talking about this shit.
This
Yeah.
fucking thing. I was listening to they're arresting the convicted Steve Bannon on contempt of Congress, and he's going to go to jail for 4 months supposedly, which probably isn't going to happen. But like what struck me is all these guys, Trump and Bannon, and all these dudes are all going like, "Oh no, I never meant anything." Like, "Oh no, it's totally misinterpreted." Blah 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 blah. When obviously this is exactly what they're doing. Like it's bald faced, exactly what they're doing. And I was like, I would still think you're terrible, but I would have the slightest amount of respect if you stood up and said, "Yes, because we want to change how America works, and we're standing up for what we believe in." Instead, they're
That's
the worst fucking little weasels you could possibly imagine. They're trying to
That's
lie
because
their way out at every turn.
That's because there's certain they have to say the big words in front of their fans, and then in front of Congress they have to lie in order not to get.
It is mind blowing. Like, I mean,
How much you're getting away with? They're getting
Like,
away with it.
if
They're getting away with it. I don't know why you're like they're weasels. They're not weasels. They're totally getting away with it.
No, like they're still weasels. They're weasels who are getting away with it. What I'm surprised is that they're such obvious weasels that anyone supports them. I'm just like, how does this?
That's because
you?
they get their news from different sources that don't play them that way.
Oh my god, it drives me mad.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
There are actual.
I bet there's nothing that portrays them as a weasel on Fox. Trust me.
These guys are like, it's like there are, if I give them all the credit in the world, like these are revolutionaries and they're doing something they really believe in. Like if the actual revolutionaries in America, during the Revolutionary War, got pulled in by Britain and said, like, it seems like you're trying to secede from our whole kingdom situation and create a new country, and they're like, oh, not me, no, what are you talking about? And George Washington's pointing the other way. No, it was Andrew Jackson. What are you talking about? It was that guy. Like,
Right.
Fuck you. I wouldn't follow you down the hall. Like, are you kidding me?
Well,
Anyway,
that's not
that's
how
my
it's being portrayed. Anyway, let's go back to this.
Man,
Right.
nitty-gritty.
So he, like Eric says, he's much more interested in telling the neighbors about the pregnancy
Mhm.
than anyone else. And she's
You know
like,
what I'd
"Do we
really love
have
to do? I'd love to tell Minnie and Roman. And she's like,
yeah,
what?
what? It's too soon, right? And like, no. But they wrote.
Here's
they
the
really-
champagne.
Right.
What?
We don't have champagne, but we have a red wine, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty good Bordeaux, actually.
My daughter Sam, when she was to watch this, she's like, I love when you write a what with a period at the end of it. What? Like that is Mia Farrow in that moment. That was fucking funny.
Right. And so she explains how she needs to go back to the doctor. And they're like, no, 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 no. We have the best doctor. Let's give you our doctor. Doctor, what's his name?
Saperstein.
Saperstein. Like he is the best. He's like one of the he treats all the big Hollywood celebrities, like
right.
all this stuff, right?
Played by Ralph Bellamy from Trading Places.
Ralph Bellamy is a very big actor. He's done
Well,
a
yeah,
huge
but
amount.
for most everyone's gonna be like, oh, that's the
He's
Rich
trained,
dude
yeah.
from
He's
Trading Places.
Mortimer from
Yes.
Mortimer?
Mortimer.
yeah, yeah.
A bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. Look.
That guy.
Yes.
So Ralph Bellamy is that, and he does. Yeah, he's in fact right behind me here. Yeah, right in my.
There you go. Yes.
That's
Yes.
Ralph Bellamy.
That's the guy.
And his instructions of what she needs to do is she needs to drink no vitamins, drink the herbs, things that the neighbor is going to give her every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Which obviously looks like blue cheese mixed in milk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's so
and
nasty.
and also do not read any books.
The best line. The best line.
Yeah, I
Don't
want to
read
make
any
sure
books.
you're good and stupid.
Yes. Don't read
Do
any
not
books.
educate yourself. Pretend. Yeah.
Yep.
This
Don't,
is really
don't
bad.
listen
for
to
you.
your friends. Don't read.
Don't
any
listen to your
books.
friends. Don't lose this. Don't lose that. Right.
Yep.
She is starting to feel sick. She's losing weight. She calls the doctor. She goes, "Do you think I could have an ectopic pregnancy?"
Right.
And he goes, "No, I told you, you're fine."
Stop
gone in a couple
reading.
days.
Sounds like you've been reading books there, Rosemary. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. The fantasy of ectopic pregnancies.
Yeah.
The fairy tale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those are serious. Those are very, very,
Yeah, we'll kill
very,
you. Just
very
kill you.
serious. Kill you, yes.
Yep.
Anyway, so anyway, so that she's he keeps telling her about tannis root, right? It's tannis root, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I remember that because the in Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's the tomb of Tanis.
Right. The tomb of Tannis. Right. Okay. Oh, and Walton Singler is here. Hey, Walton Singler. Walton Singler. Good to see you.
Hello. Good to see him.
Okay, so where are we now? Right. So, okay. She's getting sicker. She's getting pretty not feeling well at all. Hutch wants to meet her for lunch.
Mhm. And this is Hutch has come over and met Roman, right? Like Roman
Right.
came by while Hutch was visiting with her, and because Hutch was like, that's a little bit weird that they're asking you to drink this fucking funny shit, and this thing smells bad, and what's going on with this? And then Roman suddenly just shows up. They're just like,
Right.
oh, hello, and sort of insinuates himself into the conversation. And
Right.
clearly Roman is like, I don't want you talking to the eyes that he's giving the guy are like, we got to get you out of the picture.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
this is bad news. You are coming in here with some facts, and that's not going to help.
That's not going to work, right?
Right.
And so
They steal his glove.
They
his glove.
steal one of his gloves. This is an important part. Well, you don't see them stealing. You just realize that he's missing a glove before
Right.
he leaves.
Only later on do you realize that these guys are running in and out of that apartment literally all the time.
Oh, it's so
Right.
weird.
And so the other thing that happens is, so he calls her. He says, "I need to meet you tomorrow. Well, let's meet at 11 o'clock at where was it? Times Square? Not Times Square.
Yeah, Radio City Music Hall, etc.
Radio City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Radio City Music Hall. We'll do an early lunch." Okay, and he tells her like she's not looking good at all.
Yeah, and she doesn't. She looks like a ghoul. You know, she looks like a
She has the white makeup on. It's kind of
She has that white makeup, and then
Yeah.
she puts the dark
sockets
eye
and
shut under her
eyes.
shut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
she looks bad. Bad.
She also is craving raw meat, so she starts cooking steaks for like 10 seconds aside, and then eating
Yes, and
Well, and
eating
then-
actual liver
them.
raw.
Yeah. So apparently she ate the raw liver on for real,
Oh man, that gives me the.
and she's a vegetarian. So that
Oh
was
man, well,
yeah.
good on her then. That's like
that's
that-
method acting.
that would make me a vegetarian if I was trying.
Right.
Wow, I didn't know that.
is difficult enough.
Yeah. So she decides, because her life is turned upside down and she's tired of all these old people and the crazy neighbors and stuff like that, she decides she's going to throw a party for all their old friends that they've had,
Yes.
right? And she's looking super pale and terrible, but she's like, she's planning the meals for this party, and it's going to be a big party. And so then they have the party scene, which is a pretty good party scene, lots of fun.
Oh yeah,
But
this is a classic '60s,
60s party scene.
Like Peter
Peter Sellers
Peter Sellers in the party
in the
kind of
party, a movie that we can never talk about on Martini.
We
Time,
can't
'cause
actually do that one, but yes, we recommend it for film history's sake. Please check out Peter Sellers in the party.
The party.
Don't
Also
blame us when we find
related
it.
to that, related to that one is "I Love You, Alice B. Toklas" is also really
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. But it's like swinging fun party time, young people.
yeah. So
Totally different vibe than the rest of the film.
Absolutely, and that's the point.
Yes,
The point is that this was what their old life was like, and
the outside world is like, oh shit, this is fun, and this is a
Which is a breath of fresh air if you think about it, because the whole film is just these annoying older people.
yes,
Giving
giving her terrible milkshakes.
yes,
Yes.
Oh, that's repulsive stuff.
It's so
And
good.
she keeps drinking them.
He sets the tone so brilliantly in this thing. Like it's one thing. It's like because nothing and this is not a criticism. Nothing happens in this movie until the last 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Like everything is implied, but nothing really
Maybe
happens.
that's the magic of it. It's all implied.
Yes.
And you just start to think your mind, it starts to play around.
Yeah.
Because like I said, all those little things like pulling the hair off the jacket, you're inside like, God, that's weird. It's not big things like it's these weird little things that just keep
like when you're in the laundry room and you hear something crashing in the background.
And it's not explained. It's just
not explained.
It crashed. Like is someone fucking sneaking around back there? What is this? What's happening?
Right.
I
think this place just gives me the creeps. Anyway, let's do laundry some more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like he sets that, like he makes the tone so tactile, and like you said, you can smell the smells, and you just feel the heavy presence of everything. It's just like this is like it feels hot and close, and here are the old people again, and you're just like, get me out of here. So by the time you get to the '60s party, you're like, oh, thank God, some people doing some cocaine.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot something about Hutch. Right, she's supposed to meet Hutch at Radio City Music Hall. This is before the party, and so she goes to meet him there. We already know that, something's going on. She gets there, and he's not around. Right,
yes.
And so she's waiting and waiting and waiting, and then she goes inside this department store, looks for a phone to try to say where he is. I'm supposed to have an appointment with him. Finds out he's in a coma.
Just like the woman who had the apartment.
It's just like the woman who had the apartment, right?
Yes. Yeah, he suddenly fell into a coma for some reason.
Right. And then apparently, remember that where she's kind of in shock, and then she's walking across the street like in shock.
Great shot.
And in the middle, literally jaywalking in the middle of
she's walking right in front of cabs.
In front of cabs. Yeah. That was improv.
That's real, right? You can tell those are real.
So the cars were coming at her like that.
Yes. Roman Polanski says, "Don't worry about it. No one would ever dare hit a pregnant lady. Just do
amazing. That's amazing."
He told her to just cross the street like that.
Do it. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Dude, like that because there's you can tell when that stuff is staged. That was not staged. It's like
it reminded me of the Midnight Cowboy scene.
Remember? Yes, exactly. Yeah, basically,
which was also improv.
Yeah, dude,
that whole scene. He
Hoffman,
actually did get hit by the car.
Slams the guy like,
I'm walking here.
See, that's one of the greatest method acting pays off.
Yeah,
like that's because Hoffman is a legit method actor.
Sure,
he actually does this because in that moment when he was hit by a car, he remained in character. That's why you do it. So, I'm not totally against method acting. I just think that very few people actually practice it as anything other than an advertisement for themselves.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, so, right. So during the party, her girlfriends notice that she's not looking well. They decided to have a girl talk because she's having a breakdown, like a mental breakdown. And so Guy is always hovering around her, doesn't want to make sure she's not sucked out of the world, right?
Yes.
Right. And so the girls push him out. It's like girls only. They push him out of the rooms. We're only talking to her. And they basically convince her, you got to see another doctor. This is ridiculous.
This dude sounds like a crackpot.
Yeah.
Right. You're in pain all the time. You look like shit.
Right.
This is just bad news. I got to turn this around.
So the party's over. And she says, and she's in pain all the time, right? So party's over. She tells him, I'm going to see another doctor. He's arguing with her, like, you can't see another doctor. And they're having this big argument about the doctor. And then suddenly the pain stops.
Yes.
Just like that.
Yes.
Right? And then she says, I can feel the baby. I can feel it. Do you want to touch? And no, he doesn't want to touch her or anything. It's so gross.
This is amazing, because this is why I say he's disgusted. He's totally disgusted. Like, she may as well she may as well have a cat inside her belly. Like, he's just like, this is hideous. I don't want any part of it. But like that whole scene when he is arguing with her, I want to know whether Polanski had them have any lines at all, because like she has lines that she's clearly memorized. He is improving, and they're letting him improv because he is actually improving in that scene.
Okay.
Like, he is like, because Cassavetes is like, the reason why you can't is because, and you can see him like his brain is jamming, trying to come up with some fucking reason, you know. And I don't know whether it's Cassavetes is a great actor and he'd be able to do this anyway, but it feels so real. His internal.
I wonder
conflict.
if he let him have a lot of freedom.
Yeah, I think that's
because Polanski seems like just like probably so anal retentive on set that like to give him kind of freedom is.
Yeah, it's weird. That'd be a strange thing, right? And the thing is, Cassavetes is known for his improv, like for his improv filmmaking, for for acting in his own movies, et cetera, et cetera. But like, I think you're right. Like, in this otherwise hyper controlled set, like say like, okay, make up some reasons for why she can't see another doctor, when it's obviously the most logical thing in the whole wide world. And emotionally logical as well, and he has to fight to think of things. It wouldn't be fair.
It's such bullshit. Yeah. What? Like that was the
big fair. Saperstein was the funniest line.
I know.
Old. Like, just like, wouldn't be fair to Saperstein. Like, are you fucking insane? Yeah, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. And that's the kind of thing. Like, you can tell an actor to do that, but like he can see that it's bullshit while he's saying it. Like, this is not going to work. It's just great scene.
Right. But the whole thing is like, I can feel the baby, and you're like, oh, I don't know. You know what that baby is, right?
Well, the thing is, though, the beauty of that scene, just in a sort of a metaphorical structure sense in terms of screenwriting, is like, that's the one scene finally where she asserts herself. Mm-hmm. Like, she's just like, fuck you, I'm taking control of my own life, and the baby wakes up. Like, that is the baby is responding and has a heartbeat and is living because that's happening for her.
Right.
Like, she is waking up and she is full of life. That's why that hits right there. And that's why Cassavetes is so powerless in that scene.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, we still have a lot to go.
It's a big movie.
It's a big movie. Okay. All right. Then we find out that Hutch has died.
Mm-hmm.
Same as the lady. So she goes to the funeral, and she meets this woman there.
She talked on the phone with the woman. Yeah.
She talked on the phone with the woman. He goes, "Yeah, you're the one." She goes, "Yeah, he came through just before he died, and he wanted to tell me to give you a book that I was preparing to give you." So she gives him this package of this wrapped book, right?
All them witches.
Right. And then she said, he told me to tell you the name is an anagram, right?
Right.
And that's what it is. I was like, name is an anagram. Okay. Oh, okay. Right. And so now you have this, you're starting to have some feeling like, okay, she's finally going to have the tools to put it all together, right? Got a book, it's going to come together. She's going to figure it out, right? Which is, of course, to me, that's like in The Tenant when he meets Isabella Gianni. He's like, he's finally gonna.
It's all gonna.
It's gonna be okay because he's someone who's gonna bring her to normalcy, in some ways.
Yes.
And these are identical movies in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
But I love The Tenant. The Tenant is one of my favorite horror films.
Like, I would say like Rosemary's Baby is an even better crafted movie than The Tenant. But what I love about The Tenant is it's really nuts. Like
really creepy.
It's really creepy and it's really crazy. And so like I think that Rosemary's Baby is like, and this is not a critique. This is just saying like that is big Hollywood Polanski. Like he's like, I can do it.
Which one was first?
don't know. I want to say Tenet.
Which one?
Let's see.
Well, this one was
The Tenet's later.
That
Tenet's when he was
yeah,
living in Paris because he was
that's
exiled.
right. You're right. So like the Tenet is like that's more down and dirty Polanski. Like that's like whereas like with he's doing Rosemary's Baby, like that's a hit book and it's a really big deal and it's a Hollywood production. Other directors were vying to direct it, you know, and so he's like, I gotta play by Hollywood rules with this and find ways to make it work anyway. But the Tenet, he's like, fuck it. Like it's just gonna be nuts. And the Tenet is absolutely nuts. It's beautiful
Right.
and it's scary and it's super funny and it's incredible. So it's a scrappier movie. I like Rosemary's Baby is a better movie, but Tenet's a much scrappier film.
Yeah, I think it's just so creepy to me.
Yeah.
It's so creepy. It's the thing about it is that whether the Tenet, the thing that gets to me about is you're just that he's got to do just a few things to get into normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like watching someone slowly go insane and like, oh, if he just does this, he'll be fine. And then he does, and then boom, he falls off
Bam.
the-
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's a really Euro feeling film.
Oh
Like,
God.
It's
Yeah.
super Euro. And
Which
I mean
one?
that's
The
the
Tenet.
Tenet. Like,
Yeah. Well, no.
like that does not feel like Rosemary's Baby is a big fat American picture. Like
Well,
produced
it's a European film with an American studio.
it has a flavor, right? It has a distinct.
But he was banned. That's why it's made.
Yeah,
in
absolutely
Europe.
right. But I mean, like he's playing like with Rosemary's Baby. It's like William Castle produced the fucking thing. He's like an old schlockmeister. You know, it's like this is deep Hollywood stuff, and it's a big, hit book and whatnot. And so Polanski's like, I have to design this and craft this perfectly so it doesn't break the laws of Hollywood, otherwise they'll be mad at me. But I got to make it work anyway. And so the intensity of the craft is what makes Rosemary's Baby work so well. Whereas with the Tenet, man, he is free to be a Euro filmmaker. Like that's like Knife in the Water. Like Knife in the Water is like you have no fucking idea where Knife in the Water is going to go at all.
Right.
You know, or the Donald Pleasance movie that he did that we covered.
Which one? The one Eric you suggested we watch that one.
That was great. It's great with
What was that
in
movie?
the castle with the couple.
What's the name of it?
That's right at the tip of my tongue.
We
Donald
did
Pleasance.
We combined it with Sexy Beast.
Yeah, it's a terrific movie.
Sexy Beast, and someone look it up for us on
Donald Pleasance and the fuck.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
We'll look it up.
Well, no. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to go on a 2-minute break.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and do a 2-minute break. Couple things you can do while you're on a 2-minute break. One is you can go to our Patreon page and sign up for our Patreon. We would love to have you as a member of our Patreon. If you guys would like to be on Patreon, it would be super great. If you are on Patreon, we will get you and a member of the Patreon. We will put you on our special Discord. You can be on the Discord and be on the subscribers only section. So that's one thing you do. The other thing you can do is look up whatever the hell that Donald Pleasance film was. Let us know about that.
It was great. And what did we think of it? I remember it now. We loved it. We loved it.
Yeah, it was really good. Anyway, we will be back in 2 minutes, and if you'll get an ad for 2 minutes, but we'll be right back in 2 minutes where we can wrap up Rosemary's Baby for you guys. All right,
Fantastic.
Just 2 minutes from now.
All right. Ad time for some and chit chat for others.
Yeah. All right. You guys keep going. I'll be right back.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm going to actually quickly just step and grab something.
All right, go for it. I'll keep the ball rolling for everybody here.
Keep the ball rolling. Thanks, guys.
Everybody in chat, I'm going to talk about. I have been watching a whole series of Hammer horror films for leading up to Halloween, specifically starting with the Christopher Lee Dracula pictures, and some of them are available on HBO. I super recommend that you check it out. Those may be my favorite Dracula movies of all time. Like I go back and forth because I also love the Frank Langella Dracula from 1979, directed by Richard Donner, and which I think might be the best actual Dracula movie that is most like the intent of the book, even though they mess around with it a little bit. But man, Christopher Lee, they got so inventive on such a low budget with those things. And the one that I just watched that I hadn't seen since probably 25, 30 years is the one where Christopher Lee is. Oh yeah, it's the Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and that's available. I think that's available on HBO right now, or maybe I spent $2 to rent it. Definitely check this one out.
Which one is it?
It's called Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and it's one of the Christopher Lee Dracula movies, and it is awesome. I hadn't seen it in a long, long time, and the plot is great. It's one of the tightest, best, most interesting Dracula movies that Hammer made, and it's got all the paint red blood and all the weird light. But I will tell you right now,
Is it black and white? I guess not.
it's bright, bright color. It's like great '60s color, and it's got a really clever plot line. But the thing that I noticed, and I already pointed this out to Jason, is for anyone who's a fan of my thief cutscenes, is I forgot I ripped this fucking movie off so hard when I was doing those thief cutscenes and watching it. I was like, oh man, I'm literally stealing shots from this left and right, and painting different versions of these shots. This movie has a huge impact on me. So,
Nice.
if you want some history there, some backstory, that's it. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. Big influence on me.
I'm watching the Dracula thing on Netflix. Have you seen that?
Dracula thing.
The BBC one?
It's a Netflix one, I think.
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
if
right. And it has the what's his name?
It's really good.
And it has the slightly romantic overtone between Harker and Dracula. Is that the one?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, I started to watch that. I liked it. I haven't finished it.
it's pretty good.
Is it good?
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying that one.
It's so hard to make a good Dracula movie, it seems, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah,
Like the book is super fun.
like the Keanu Reeves one with.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
That's
It's a beautiful mess, but it's a mess.
It is a beautiful mess.
Yeah, but it's bad. Like everyone's bad in it. It's like the script is a shambles. It's like it's trash.
Which one is this?
Coppola's Dracula.
Coppola's
Oh,
Dracula.
yeah.
It's garbage, but it's I love Coppola, but like that he's more interested in pulling filmmaking tricks than creating a character story that I was interested in, and it just
Winona
turns into
Ryder
like
was terrible.
I love Ryder, and she's bad.
She's
very
bad in this.
Yeah, everybody's Carrie Elwes is bad. Everyone's bad. Everyone's like
What's his name?
Anthony Hopkins is bad. And it's
Anthony
like,
Hopkins is bad. What the Dracula is played by? What's his name?
Oh yeah, I will say old Dracula is great, and if you had a movie, Gary Oldman's old Dracula is brilliantly done.
Yes.
If there was a movie that was
because he's a perfect over actor for it.
Yes,
yes, and
he's a great, like terrific ham bone. And the thing is, like that, I don't mean that as a bad thing. Like
no, but that's what Dracula needs.
Yeah, you need a big presence like that. That's really insanely creative. You need Klaus Kinski. My favorite Dracula movie ever is Werner Herzog's remake of Nosferatu. And Klaus Kinski is, he's an insane person in real life. And he's going to bring a performance that's outlandish, and in that case, like he was so minimal and creepy, it was outlandish. But it's just like if there had been a movie to support Oldman, man, what a movie that would have been. And instead, it's just like this kind of shitty perfume commercial wading through these bad
shitty perfume commercial.
Ugh, God, terrible. But in any case, I also said see the Richard Donner's going to allow plans episode. Frank Langella as Dracula in 1979 is actually very, very, very good.
Right. Okay, back to
Rosemary's Baby.
She gets her book. She opens the book. She reads the book. What's it? The book's title again? Witches what?
All Them Witches.
All Them Witches. All Them. No, it's more than that. It's a bit longer title.
It's All Them Witches.
All Them Witches.
I promise. There's a band called All
Them
Witches.
That's what I was about to say. It sounds like a band.
Right.
It is in fact also a band.
Okay. So All Them Witches is one, and then she's like, okay, the name's an anagram. So she tries to think it's the name of the book is the anagram. So she takes her Scrabble tiles to try to decipher the title, and she's like comes up with all kinds of random stuff. And then she starts looking through the book, and she sees a dog-eared section of it, and she sees a picture of a family picture and the names of all these people, and one of them is a kid, and his name was David something, right?
Stephen Castevet. No, Stephen blah blah blah. Stephen blah blah.
And then she does it and realizes that it's
It's an anagram for Roman Castevet.
Roman Castevet, right?
Yes.
So she's like, "Oh shit!" Like he changed his name, right? So then realizes
he's the son. In fact, this goes back to
he's the son of the guy.
Son of the guy that started the whole thing.
The whole start.
And so like the guy who was murdered outside of this building that they talk about in the beginning when they're just talking about random shit that happened.
Yeah, the guy was murdered because of all the horrible things he did.
That was Roman's dad.
That was Roman's dad.
So
Roman's the
what
little boy.
was this thing where she's going through that and she says, outside, not in the lobby. Like, what was the point of her saying that? I always thought that was a weird line.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Remember, because she said,
yeah, you're right.
That was outside, not in the lobby.
Like, there's something, it meant something to Polanski anyway. I don't know I'm not sure if it totally comes across, though. Like, it's some realization of, like this was part of the hotel or part of the real world. So I think that may be the tone, but it's a little unclear. I agree. I'm not really sure what that means.
Okay. Then also
let's find out and just have a white paper on my desk.
I'll do my best. I'm still finishing the paper on why does Bruce Willis say cigarettes like it's really important in Die Hard.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand.
Yeah. She also notes, she finds in there that there is the name of it's not tannis root, but it's actually called devil's pepper.
Devil's pepper. Right. Yes.
So she's starting to put it all together, right?
Which I think is what is in this right here. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So she's figuring it out. Once she figures it out, she tells her husband, she says, "I want nothing to do with our neighbors. They're horrible people." Right? Husband protests. So funny.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't realize that he's in on the whole freaking thing.
Yep. Like, holy shit, this guy.
Yeah.
This guy.
It's also her blatant naivete is.
I think that because she's not a dummy. She's very, very smart, but she's really invested in believing things are the way that they are because that is how she has control. And so if it turns out that he is manipulating her in a way that she is unfamiliar, that's very scary. Like, not just scary in terms of like my husband's a weirdo working with a cult, but sort of like it puts her in a position where she doesn't know how to get out of that at all. Like they have an agreement. They have a codependent agreement on how they manipulate each other. And he's found this end run to do something that's completely out of her zone. And it's I think that's why she really it's impossible for her to believe that he would act with such not just malice, but sort of like outside the terms of their codependent agreement. Right. I think that's the subtle thing that's happening for
her. Apparently Dave 3D says Bruce Willis says cigarettes in Die Hard because it is one of the details that lets him know that terrorists are European based on the type of cigarette.
Thank you.
The dialogue then shifts to him pushing the cop towards checking out foreign leads in their
right. Okay, yeah, I buy that. That makes sense. It's just like the camera rides right up on him and he goes, and they're cigarettes. And I'm like,
right.
Were they really good cigarettes?
Well, I guess you can tell what kind of cigarettes they are when he finds the butts.
If they're yeah, exactly. The little foldy case ones that you get in the smart stores. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Well, thank you, Dev. I appreciate that.
There you go.
I'll get back to the white paper, Eric.
Please, if you can, just keep working on that. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. So now let's see what happens. Right. The husband throws away the book.
I threw it in the trash. Where's the book? Oh, I threw it in the trash. Hutch gave me that book. Like you. I would like at that point. I'm just like, just throw him out a window. Let's throw this useless sack of fucking turrets out the window. I hate this guy so badly.
Right.
Even if there's no plot, if there's no devils or witches or anything, if it's just this guy, kill him.
It's just
vile.
But the thing that's amazing to me is that he plays there's a lot of ways to play an evil character.
Oh yeah.
But this one is like
because he's selfish.
Yeah,
he's so selfish.
slippery. He's so slippery and charming and funny and jokey, and just like and then like he always comes from the point of view of like this is all about helping Rosemary when it's all about helping himself. You know, it's just like this. It makes him and so when I say I hate him, like I love this character and Cassavetes.
Oh, I agree. No, the character is what makes it so good, right?
Yeah.
Like
A+ performance.
But because you could just play the evil guy, like I'm plotting behind you, but he just seems like awkwardly, clumsily trying to guide her while only serving his self-interest.
Yeah, he seems like a knucklehead.
Yeah, because he's not a good planner.
No.
He's like, no, he's terrible.
No, he's just thinking that they're handling it for him and he'll get the fame and everything he wants.
Yes.
That's why he keeps running to them.
Yes.
Right.
I gotta go see Minnie and Roman.
Yeah, I gotta go see him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why that scene when she finally puts her foot down, like he's totally at sea because nobody's feeding him lines. Like, how, I didn't expect her to do this. Suddenly want to see another doctor. I don't know what to say. You know? But he's so used to getting his own way by being the star. Like,
years ago, I used to have a producing partner like that.
Years ago. Bad times.
Bad times.
It's true. But yeah, like he is a. I mean, if anyone wants to check out some of the greatest indie films ever made, look up John Cassavetes and the movies that he directed and also acted in with Gina Rowlands and Ben Gazzara. And it's just unbelievably good movies. And it's so cutting edge. They're shocking. So that's, as a side note, this guy is a genius.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so I want to make. Well, no, we'll be fine. Anyway, so name's book away. Okay, she leaves. She drops a pendant. She takes off the pendant while she's in the street and drops it down a grate. Right. Mm-hmm. Gets rid of the pendant. Buys a book on witchcraft at the bookstore. Mm-hmm. The book says that you need a person's possession to cast a spell, right?
I.e., a glove.
Yeah.
Or you just basically like glove, and so you realize like they had something of all those people that that like got hurt.
But even he grabbed it.
Yep. And then like or
the tie.
The tie. Yeah, exactly. The tie.
The tie. Yeah. I forgot about
the actor Tony Curtis in the tie. Yeah, he's just like
right.
It doesn't really matter what color ties are anymore.
Right.
It's like he got one of his ties.
Right. Right. That's right. Okay. She calls the actor who lost his eyesight. That's the scene we're talking about, and which turns out was Tony Curtis.
Tony Curtis, yes.
And has a conversation with him, and she's and sort of gets into that situation. Finds out that borrowed the tie. That's how she finds out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And so now she knows everyone who has been hurt by this group it has happened because they collected items and then cast spells.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
so she is now confident that this is a coven.
Right. She knows that this is she finally has all the proof necessary.
Yes.
Cul-de-sac. Thank you, Jason. That is the name of the movie.
Cul-de-sac. Thank you. Yes.
Which is amazing that the movie is called Cul-de-sac because it is not at a cul-de-sac.
It is not. It is.
I thought it was going to be a film about suburbia, but it's not.
No,
maybe their lives are like a cult.
No, we went through this. If you guys want to hear about why that is, we actually did have this conversation. I don't even remember.
We should do a podcast on it.
We did one.
Yes, we should go back in time.
No, we didn't.
Yes.
Go back to listen to our Cul-de-sac Sexy Beast episode. Jason, tell us what episode number it was, and then
thank you.
We can put that in our chat. Well, thank you, Jason. Of course, we could count on you. Okay, so where was I? Okay, crap. Okay, now we're getting okay. So now she knows it's witchcraft. Now she knows it's about owning possession. She goes to see the old doctor, right?
Yep, Charles Grodin. Right?
Charles Grodin. No. The old doctor.
She goes to see the old doctor first.
The old doctor. So Ralph Bellamy. She goes to see Ralph Bellamy. Nurse says she smells better.
Because she's
Nurse says the doctor had the same smell.
Yeah.
Right.
The doctor had the same smell.
I can't believe she didn't freaking figure that part out. Like this is part of me is like
my daughter's standpoint sounds like, yeah, well, when you smell the same thing all the time, like you're not going to smell it on somebody else. Like it's going to go right by you. So yeah, when Saperstein turns out to also use this as fungus aftershave.
Right. Right.
She's like, I'm just gonna go get something in the street.
Right.
Bye.
Right. So she leaves, and when she leaves, she says she dumps her appointment. She goes to a phone booth and tries to call Dr. Hill. Great. This is like, if you're gonna, like, phone booths aren't a thing anymore. But if you're gonna do a phone booth scene, this is one of the best.
This is one of the great ones. I miss phone booths because
okay, there's this scene and High Anxiety.
Yes, High Anxiety, which is an echo of one of the great phone booth scenes, which is the birds.
The birds, right?
And the conversation and Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes,
like it's one of the conversations in film. Yeah. So
there was some meme I saw was really
also
funny.
Broadway Danny Rose. Lou, we're in a different situation here, Lou.
Yeah. So it was really funny. So there was this meme or this story. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's relevant. So follow me along with it. But apparently it's a story about this mom who she has two boys, right? One older boy and a younger boy. And she's stopping at a gas station and takes the younger boy. It's like, all right, here, why don't you get out? You're going to help me fill this car with gas. And he's like, okay. Says like, you'll learn how to do this. This is an important skill to learn. And after they finished, I was like, well, Mom, thanks for teaching me that. That's something I'm never going to ever have to do. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, you're not going to fill up a car with gas anymore. And the boy in the background is like, this is the time you taught us how to use a payphone.
Let's use a payphone. Exactly.
It's like, yep, yeah. Gas stations are not going to be around for much longer.
No, that's going to be a whole new bag. But yes, unfortunately, I wish they would just keep because
there is a payphone. There is a payphone in front of, what's the name of the pantry? Is a pantry in downtown?
Downtown, yeah.
There's a payphone there.
Oh, that's nice.
People were like, "Oh my god, a payphone!"
It's so fucking cool, man. Because I mean, the thing is, like, the phone booth scene in The Birds is fucking groundbreaking, crazy stuff. It's absolutely amazing. And in this, there is, and I just want to ask you, I think that because she's on the phone, and Eric, you already pointed this out.
It's crammed around her.
It's like you're in the booth with her. Like everything is like
it's like two people in a phone booth.
Yes, and like there's people that want to use the phone booth, whatever, and halfway through
the lighting, by the way, it's so bright.
Yes, yeah,
and everything colors are so vibrant.
It's like everything is made to put pressure on you. Like everything is stimulating.
But I think that's the thing that's different, right? It's not like a dark, dingy.
Yeah,
it's crammed but bright and airy.
Yes.
So the juxtaposition.
This is the brilliance of it, right? Because like there's the free world out there. Right. Here's open space, greenery, sky, clouds.
All she's got to do is get out of the phone booth.
She's got to get out of the fucking phone booth. She's trapped in the phone booth. Right. And then halfway through the scene, this dude just backs up and leans against the glass.
That's the stuff that makes you just so.
It's gold. And I have a question right here because, like, the haircut, a guy's head is exactly like Ralph Bellamy's hair. Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
That's it's a MacGuffin.
Right.
Or McDoodle-Roo.
And you're like, fucking Ralph Bellamy is right here listening to this conversation. He moves and walks off screen. You don't see his face, and he's off screen for like a second. And when he walks back on, it's obviously not Ralph Bellamy. And I'm like, is that a Texas switch?
That was called the Texas switch.
Like that?
It's also called the Kissinger switch.
The Kissinger switch.
Because he looked like Henry Kissinger.
Because like I think that Ralph Bellamy really was the head that was up against the glass. And he leaves the frame for a second, and then it's a different actor walks back in as if it were the same actor. And I if anyone can, I didn't think about it until after the scene was gone. I didn't go back to check. Maybe I'm wrong, but if anyone can spot that, let me know. That was just like I think that's one of the most clever Texas switches I've ever seen. Really brilliant. Since we had a trillion times, never noticed that.
Right. Dave Fruity says the best phone booth scene is from Terminator 2. Your foster parents are dead.
Foster parents are dead. It's good.
To me, that is a great scene. It's not necessarily as good. What I like the most about that scene is how it turns into a meme.
The best meme of all time.
One of the best memes.
Is that where the thing goes through the head?
Yes, that's the thing. It's like your foster parents are dead. It's like already it pans over and she's got the sword arm through the husband's throat. Right.
Oh, and it's the woman who was Vasquez in
Aliens.
In Aliens.
And she's the dying Irish woman in Titanic.
She is the dying Irish woman in Titanic. Yeah. And she is now a big entrepreneur and she owns a series of bra stores called
Nice.
Janet's Bra.
Nice.
These are for very busty ladies who need custom bras made, right?
Life After Aliens.
Yes,
Nicely done.
and she
Nicely done.
owns a store that's about 2 miles from here. So one of the stores
that's
is on Magnolia Boulevard here in Burbank, California, and
Great
very,
actor. I love her.
very
She's a
successful,
great character.
very successful entrepreneur, and
Yep.
she's doing really well. The only reason I know that is I watched what that series on Netflix is like, the movies we love or whatever. They did one on Terminator, on Aliens.
Oh, that's great. That's really
Yeah.
great. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Like because my version of that meme was on the phone, and Schwarzenegger is talking to her and says,
Right.
"Oh, Jeanette, what's your favorite Colin Farrell movie?" And
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, sweetie, you know it's Total Recall." And then
Right.
he goes, "Your foster parents are dead."
It's
Yeah,
like no, when he says the other one, Alex is like, "What do your parents do?" And he goes, and he says, "They're visual effects artists." "What time will we be home on Saturday?" "Oh, sweetie, you know we don't work on Saturday. Your foster parents are dead."
What's this from?
From
It's a
Terminator
meme.
2, and it's a meme that's been
It's a meme from the Terminator 2.
Yeah,
thing.
it's the full gag I did was like, does your mother like Michael Mann movies? And he's like, oh yeah, she loves him. What's your favorite Colin Farrell movie? Total Recall. Your foster parents are dead. That's basically the layout for the joke all the time. It's wicked funny. But
Okay. All right. So she's in the phone booth. Phone booth scene. She's trying to basically get an appointment with Dr. Hill. She does manage to squeak in. Like, she gets the service. He says, "Okay, come on over." She gets to Dr. Hill. She sees Dr. Hill. He tells her everything. She sounds like a crazy person. Totally sounds like a crazy person.
let's this monologue ride so long.
He
Like,
just
when
sort
she-
of listens.
Because you basically want everybody to think she's crazy.
It's
Right.
so good, man. Like she tells you everything that you already agree is bizarre, but
Right.
she says it all in order, and it's like
And she
2.5
opens the suitcase and pulls the book out.
2.5 minutes of pure conspiracy, and like he cuts back to Charles Grodin. He's like, "Uh huh." You're like,
Okay,
no.
Eric, if you go to our chat, Dave put a link there to
There,
the VFX meme, which is
To
What-
Dr. Saperstein's office.
no
Doc-
Twitter. Go to our Twitch chat, and Dave 3D has put one in there. So it's basically it's Arnold says, "What do your parents do for a living?" They're VFX artists. He says, "Why aren't you at work? It's Saturday. Let us." They
your
let us
foster
out at
parents
5
are dead.
o'clock. Your foster parents are dead.
Yeah, like I love that the genius of this one we don't work on Saturday. It's Saturday. We don't work on Saturday. It's they let us off at 5.
Obviously, they
on a
never
Saturday.
worked it still.
That's completely unrealistic. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Dude.
Okay, so to
You
me, this scene also, the one that's paired, like I really wish we had paired this with Tenet, because this is the one when she tells him everything. It's like when he tells Isabella Gianni everything,
Yeah, the whole
And-
boat.
the whole thing, and he is, I can finally get some sleep.
Yes.
And he goes to sleep in the Tenet, and she goes to sleep in his office.
yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes,
It's like, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Everything's gonna be
I am
fine.
finally in safe hands
Yes.
now that I'm here. Right?
Yeah. Like I said at the top of the show, man, it's when Charles Grodin, after she gives that big speech, says, "I believe you." Like I was
But
like,
she also said, but no. But before that, he says, Dr. Saperstein. Like when she, when he-
Saperstein?
Saperstein.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, I believe you. Why don't you get some sleep? Like,
Doomed. Doomed. And because he has a very
Yeah,
unique line.
she's.
Because
God,
he
she really
says, like,
was-
I don't believe in witchcraft, but that there are plenty of crazy people in New York. And you go like, maybe he does believe her. Yeah, no. Nope. You had never escaped the maze, my friend.
Right.
Never,
so
ever.
so after she takes her little nap, or barely takes her little nap, who shows up but her husband and
This,
Dr. Saperstein?
this movie makes a meal out of men walking through doors at camera. Like,
Right.
when you're just like, oh,
It's a
fuck, here
meal.
comes, yeah. It's like, here
This is
comes the
you.
men. Yeah, it's so
Right.
good. And and this is another example of like Saperstein's up front and Grodin's there, and then in the background is Weasley little Cassavetes, and he's just like, oh no, honey, they said, and you're like, if I had a golf club, I would beat you in the in the balls of your feet until they ended up in your eyeballs. Like I hate him so much, and he's just in the background. He comes out into the shadows. He's like, "No, but sweetie, they said it's all just about you," and then goes back into the shadows. What a pig! Oh man, savory. He's one of my favorite villains. Savory villain.
So now they shove her in a cab, which is this shot right behind us.
And then the guy there is just totally like one of their little sycophants.
Yeah, because he is one of the guys. You see him at the party. That guy.
Oh,
Yeah, so good.
And by the way, the film is not in black and white, but I just like the black and white version of this picture because it was really cool. So that's our background.
I feel very privileged to be Rosemary in this stuff.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Saperstein. And Eric, as per usual, the narcissistic, crazy person. The evil one who cares only about himself.
Oh, that's crap.
Hey, come on. I'm Dr. Saperstein. I smell like feet.
You smell like feet. Dr. Footstein. Yeah.
I'll make sure to tell women that they don't need to read books.
Yeah, don't
cloud their mind from serving me drinks. Yes. Okay. Okay. So so she sneaks up. Okay. I'm sort of blanking a little bit. It's a couple days. She sneaks home. She locks the house. How does she get it? She's
at the elevator, right? So she they're bringing her to the house and
bring her to the house, but she runs it. She gets them out of the elevator. She goes up by herself.
Yeah,
right?
She tricks them and she gets in the apartment by herself, locks everything, right? And here's the funniest fucking thing in the entire film.
Go ahead, say it.
Okay. She is like, there's a big deal at the door, trying to push them out. And then she's like, yo, you're trying to steal my baby. And shuts the door, locks it, puts another lock on it. And then you pan around with her. And then she gets over and she gets on the phone. She's going to tell everybody what's going on. And then you're on her. And then in the background, two dudes just go like fucking... it's like Keystone
Panther.
Cops. Yeah, exactly. Like
tiptoeing around.
Like they've been in her apartment the whole time.
No, they came in through the back area. So
this is just
into the front
suddenly
door.
There's a shitload of people in her apartment.
Yeah, she's trying to sneak it. She's like, I'm safe in my apartment. No.
It's so cartoony. It's very daring.
It's like the Pink Panther.
Like the Pink Panther. That's the stuff that he does, like pulling the hair off the fabric with it's that weird stuff that you're like, Jesus, that's so bizarre. It's so strange.
You know what?
And I think Lynch pulls stuff like that.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of a little bit? That one is although it's way more comical in this one, but it's the one from Exorcist 3 with the nurse on the ceiling.
Yes, so good. Where you're like, except that I just got the shit scared out of me. This is very funny.
Yes. It's like, oh fuck. Oh, that's hilarious. Yes.
Good. It's so good. And like the brilliance, because what that little scene reminds me of is one of sort of an offbeat favorite film of mine of Polanski's is The Fearless Vampire Killers. And The Fearless Vampire Killers is wall to wall, like Benny Hill style slapstick comedy, right? And it's nothing but those jokes the entire time. It's like a Hammer horror film, like I was talking about over the break, but done as an extremely silly comedy. And what's weird is that because it's so consistent in making all these silly jokes, the creepiness of the film ends up being kind of unsettling and frightening. Like, so he has it both ways all the time. He's just like, I can't just make the movie funny. I'm going to make it slightly scary. And I'm just like, this is fucking too good, this guy. It's unbelievable how skilled he is at this stuff. So when they come like through the apartment, I'm like, bravo. Nobody would have the balls to do that in any modern film. And it made me laugh, and it freaked me out simultaneously. So good.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Anyway, so next thing is so now as she's trying to do the thing, the group of old people attack her. They're all old. They're all really old. Yeah. It's just that there's so many of them. They're like old zombies, right? Attack her. They put her in the bed, and basically Saperstein is there now and says it's time for a baby. Like to realize, like, she's in labor, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, hold on a second. Where were we? And so she gives birth to the baby off camera, right? Mm-hmm. She wakes up trying to find the baby. They say the baby has died, and they sedate her again.
So
Yeah.
cruel, unbelievable,
Right?
insanely cruel. Like this is gaslighting too.
That's the best part of the movie.
Oh,
is
it's
that
horrifying.
Oh god.
Yeah, and especially like not only is Cassavetes gaslighting her, right? The doctor comes in, continues the gaslighting, right? And he can't help but say, and of course, if we'd been at the hospital, it would have been fine. But you insisted, and you're just like you're putting her baby's death off on her.
Yeah.
Like it's beyond. It's just beyond anything. It's just beyond.
But she already.
Right. Like these guys are like they're just nonstop the worst.
It's just the worst.
Mhm.
Worst.
This is really your fault for not listening to us men constantly.
I know.
Constantly.
The chauvinism in this is hard.
It's villainous. It is the villain of the film.
It's the villain of the film, right? Right. Anyway, so then the husband gives a speech to her.
Mhm.
Says, "I'm not crazy, but don't worry, we will get famous." Like somehow he's like,
Yeah.
"This is going to be good. Don't worry, we've done that thing. That thing's done."
It's fun. I mean, imagine if
fine.
you lost the baby, right? And it's not like it's just like that. It's not like you really. It's not like anyone hurt you, really.
Right.
Like she, man.
She almost died, but
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's fine now.
she didn't die. So now we get to be famous.
Now we get famous. It's perfectly reasonable. And then it's just like the hate in her eyes is ludicrous.
Right. Okay, so then she's in bed. She's watching TV,
Mhm.
and she can hear a baby.
Yes. And they're
That's the worst part of the film. Like you really, it's like it's so it gets under you.
Yes.
And where everybody else is just playing, and the breast milk bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they keep doing that, right? They keep trying to take her breast milk from her.
right. To
Getting her
soothe
to pump
pain.
breast
Yes,
milk.
exactly.
Right, to
To
soothe
soothe
her
her pain. You don't want it swelling and all this kind of stuff. And then the really jerky woman with the glasses.
The glasses are hilarious. They're
She's fucking
comical
horrifying.
glasses.
Yeah, she's horrifyingly evil.
Oh my
And it's
God,
like
she's so
the one who's
annoying,
taking the
too.
breast milk away, and Rosemary like sees that there's an extra spoon sitting on the table. She thinks that like, oh well, if you're just taking the dishes away, and puts the spoon in the breast milk. And she's like, oh, don't do that, we don't
Right.
want to. This gets all messy.
Right.
Fucking
Ugh.
cultists, man.
Oh, it's horrible.
These horrible cultists. And then the husband says, "Oh yeah, well that's not your baby. That's someone else moved in the other apartment. They have a baby, so that's the baby you're here." Fucking dick, man. Oh man, if that like they could have put out a sequel to this movie in which he is crushed under rocks and it was 5 hours long, and I'd be like, yeah, I can watch that.
It's amazing.
Horrible, man.
It's amazing. So anyway, she figures out, she goes to the closet, she figures out the passage in the closet, right? She takes the shelves out of the closet and she figures out she can go right through,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Like that's what was happening before. That's why she moved.
That's what's happening before. That's why the secretary is like a giant boudoir or whatever, right?
And,
was in front of there.
The woman who was in a coma closed that fucking door because those guys were getting in.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's how they got in. So now, so she gets into the apartment and then she sees they're all having a cocktail party. There's something about cocktail parties in the Northeast. They're both amazing and horrible
and horrifying. See Get Out for more notes.
see Get Out for more notes.
Yes.
But there's something about cocktail parties. So I think I told you guys like these stories of like cocktail parties.
Yes.
At my parents' house, like, and this is a thing they do, like, old retired white WASP people.
Yes, right.
will like to have cocktail parties every night, and they rotate from house to house every night. So right. So it's like, so you'll have 7 different couples, and then every night they'll go to Mondays is at the Smiths, and then Tuesdays is at the Browns, and and Wednesdays at the Williams, like et cetera.
Like the Williams this week, remember?
Yeah. And then they all have their penny loafers and their jackets and their little ascots, and that's what they do. And listen, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but there is
the chances of there being something wrong with you if you're there are high.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So something definitely to be noted about that. But they're having a cocktail party in this house, which is how did you describe it? Like if grandma decorated Dracula's
Castle.
Dracula's castle.
Exactly.
Right. So now this isn't the Cassavetes' house. It's a different house, right? It's different.
Like I think it's the.
I think it's the house on the other side.
Is that right? Yeah, like
I'm not sure if it's the Cassavetes' house.
It's an extension of the Cassavetes, or it's a different part of it. But it's like a place that you have not seen. It's an area. It's an area you have not seen, and because they're quite free to be, you and me in that space. Like they have paintings. They have strange paintings, devil worshipping paintings. Hanging up everywhere. Yeah.
So it's probably their apartment, but now all the stuff's different around.
Yes,
the apartment.
Exactly.
Okay, so everything's fine, except they all look at her. They don't attack or anything. They just sort of look at her.
And then annoying woman screams.
Yeah. Points. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
You see her stick the tongue out at her.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a fucking 12-year-old. Yeah.
Right.
So funny.
7-year-old.
The highlight, of course, is that at the center of off to the side of the living room is a huge baby bassinet.
Bassinet, black
with a silver cross hung upside down with a bow on it above it as a mobile.
As a mobile. And the person that's rocking the bassinet, over aggressively rocking the bassinet, is the woman with the terrible glasses.
Woman, yeah, and she's like, she's pumping water.
Yeah. I was going to say like she's operating a dildo, but that's
same difference. Man.
Whoa.
So you're just like, she is way too into this. This is bad.
Yeah.
This is bad.
And she's just like, and the baby's crying because
it's probably rolling around. It's like the Poseidon adventure for the baby.
Yeah. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. Okay. So, what happens from there?
So then she's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Where's my baby? And she goes over and she's got a knife in her hand. She's like, goes over to the crib, or goes over the bassinet, looks and says, what have you done to him? Yeah. What have you done to its eyes? And that's when Roman says, he has his father's eyes. What are you talking? Guys' eyes are normal. But
right.
No.
Yeah. Are you that out of touch?
You saw the father's eyes when this was conceived.
Right.
And then Roman goes into she like basically collapses with she's just overwhelmed entirely.
Right.
And then Roman goes into his big speech about like this son of Satan is going to rise up and dominate the earth and punish the unbelievers, and it's the end of the world. It's coming. And the one real hint that you get, like obviously there's something wrong with kids' eyes, you know that much. But the one sort of real nod that you know that this might be real and actually happening is the weather report that she is watching before she goes over to the house.
Oh, right. Tell us about that.
Because the weather report points out multiple times that it's unseasonably hot and it's only going to get hotter. Like it's happening, fellas. Hell on earth is on the way. And, and we're getting this.
But they say that a couple times. It's like hell out there.
It's like hell. It's happening.
Which, by the way, is exactly what it's been like for the last several years.
Yes, this is very
here
true.
In reality.
Yes, very much in touch with that one. But yeah, so like he goes through the whole shtick and then says, listen, we like it doesn't have to go badly. Like you're his mother, and he needs a mother. These other old ladies, they're not going to do it, right?
Right.
But that's a really interesting time because the connection, it goes to her mother's spirit kind of.
Yes,
you're exactly. The one for it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it's like there's just something beautiful about that. Like they care about it, and when she switches, it's like what the.
Well, this is the sort of the beauty of the movie, and the reason why the movie makes such a good, I think, feminist argument, and. Like why it's
hard. Like it would be really okay. Let me ask you this: today, it'd be really hard to say that this is a feminist movie because people would look at this and say it portrays women really poorly.
Right. And in fact, what it's saying is that all of these terrible pressures that you're talking about are absolutely real. Like
this is why we had such a hard time with people trying to defend Blonde, for example. Right?
Yes, exactly.
It's the same
What has happened?
problem.
Have you still been in arguments with people over
I
that?
still debate Blonde. I try to
Really?
be very, yeah. I mean, I try to be like easy about it. Like I don't want to. I'm not calling people names. I understand why they don't like it. It's a very hard movie. But I think you're right, Chris. Like there's a like because the thing with Rosemary's Baby is that it is absolutely in agreement that it's like the patriarchy is the villain of the movie, and it's sort of like this fucking.
But the thing is, I think
yeah, I'm leading up to
there's no subtlety in this.
Yeah, like there's like this is like men.
It's too. I mean, sorry, it's too subtle for most audiences to understand.
Here's the one big difference.
Today or back then?
No,
Today.
Okay. So for Rosemary's Baby in particular, back then, and like what Rosemary's Baby does now, and what is upsetting about it right now, is that Rosemary's Baby is in my opinion, a very feminist movie that's making the argument of like, look at the fucking horror that we're up against. You know, like men are these devious, horrible men trying to manipulate the situation constantly. They all are incredibly selfish. This is terrible. It's nonstop. It's pervasive. It's everywhere, right? And not only that, like it's our parents that keep on reinforcing it. Like it's the parents and grandparents force this structure onto us constantly. So that is what it's saying. It's in complete agreement. But at the same time, it doesn't let Rosemary off the hook and let her be purely heroic. Like that
this is, and you're right. I 100% agree with you. And this is one of the things that I think is important. I'm sorry to say this. I'm going to be a little bit. Is important about this freaking podcast because I think too many people, they want to be fed that information much more literally to the point that it doesn't make you understand that everything has subtlety and nuance.
The thing is, it validates what this does is it validates her struggle in that she is a real human being who is like she's a manipulator as well as her husband is. She's not like she's doing it in a defensive way because she has to. Right. But she's agreed to this. So like she's not like some pure heroine who is like, I'm a good person who's only going to do the right thing. And once I discover that my husband is evil, I'm going to like, none of that happens. She is as much a part of what is going on around her as everybody else is. The major difference is that she is the victim of it. And she is, because she's made all these passive agreements all over the place, especially with her husband, to protect herself. She's fucked herself even more deeply. And like the fact that she has made passive choices and not heroic, strong choices is very difficult for people to see as feminist because they think that a feminist movie would have a hero that has clear moral lines and is untempted by anything. And the fact is that is not a human being. When you do
that. Hold on. Okay, so compare her character with Fury Road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So here, like this is because Fury Road also a feminist film, and
yes. But you don't have to defend it as a Fury.
Wait, don't you
right.
see?
So if I may, like that Furiosa has the same problem that Rosemary has. It's just it's a reverse form of the same problem. Furiosa is so terrified of the awfulness that's been perpetrated, and she's so tired of fighting it. She's trying to run away to a fantasy place where it's only women and it's only going to be happy. And then, like, if we just have a world where there's no men at all because men are completely untrustworthy, then we can just live and be happy together as a fantasy unit. And it turns out, when you get there, that's death. That doesn't work, right? And beyond it, they even pointed out, like, well, maybe we could ride further, right? And then Max goes, that's salt, like, which means that that's just bitterness. Like, there's no life out there at all. It's completely impossible to live beyond this point, right? You're trying to live in a fantasy. The fantasy land doesn't exist. You have to admit into your life the idea that maybe Max is trustworthy. And maybe you can fight this together. Like, and that is a huge thing to ask of her because of the punishing life that she has led. But it is when when she allows him to help her, that is the victory of the movie. That's where
She allows him to help
because she's dying, right? And like she allows Max to help her.
Oh, we're talking about Max.
Yeah, and like that for her to trust in Max is her growth, right? To say that yes, almost all the men here are terrible. They're all the problem. But to throw Max to the side of the road when he is also trying to find the right path is keeping them from the truth and from fixing things. And so these are brave movies about actual human, like the difficulty of being a hero. Like you can't just be a heroic icon because people aren't heroic icons. Like it's like what's that line from what is it? From The Insider. Okay, so in The Insider, you have Russell Crowe and his wife show up to meet Al Pacino and what's his name? The older actor who's wonderful. I can't think of his name. And they're going to interview them for 60 minutes, a pre-interview. And the wife doesn't even realize this is an interview about the smoking situation. And she finds out and she's like, what the fuck is going on? And leaves. And Russell Crowe leaves. And then Mike Wallace is just like, who the fuck are these idiots? Like, I thought you were bringing me some heroic, whistleblower types. And Al Pacino says, they're everyday people under extraordinary pressure, Mike. What do you expect? Grace and consistency? Right? And this is the problem here, is that like with Furiosa, is like she does not, like she's trying her fucking hardest, but she doesn't have grace and consistency because she's a person, right? And with Rosemary, like she's under this hideous wall of all this complicated shit that's coming down on her from every angle, from her fiction, basically grandparents, from her husband, from the entire patriarchy, and it is fucking exhausting. Like all the time she has to deal with this, and she makes all sorts of concessions left and right that are weak just so she can have a little bit of satisfaction for herself.
I think it's also the expectation, right? This is the thing that I think is important. And this is something I think that is especially of that moment. Women were not necessarily, they had to play a role of the cocktail wife.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And she was that person.
Yeah.
But not all of them.
But this is that, like what Rosemary's Baby is complaining about, and rightfully so, is exactly that situation. We're being forced into these roles, right? And the only way we can act is like we're being suffocated because of the structure of everything around us, right? That's the argument, which is true. And what the movie allows for is that Rosemary has been suffocated. Like she gets nothing. Like she's had to make compromises left and right, or she's in a codependent relationship with her husband just so she can eke out a little bit of satisfaction here and there. And then in the end of the movie, like she has nothing and has lost everything, and there's no one who will help.
But you're saying so she's following the values of the older generation. But maybe it's a commentary on just youth.
She tries to break out of it all the time. Yes. Like she does it like when she gets the haircut, is like, I got the Fidel Sassoon haircut, right? And they're like, it looks fucking terrible. Right. They all tell her she looks horrible.
They're trying to control her again, right?
And they're trying to control her. And so that's the thing. She tries to do her cocktail party. Remember, her cocktail party was like completely
her free expression.
Different.
Yes, exactly.
Her free expression. All of the friends
and
there were like
come down on it and destroy.
And they come down on it hard. Like, no.
Right.
Get back to drinking your horrible shit.
But that's just a generational. It's just showing
it is. Like generationally.
But
true,
she's weak at not being able to survive it, because in the end, she's like, I guess I'll just be the devil's mom.
Right. And this is like the thing is like.
Well, no, is that a woman's choice to say?
The thing is, yes, because like I feel like this is what it's like. This is her son. She's going to have fucking feelings for her son. Like that's true. It's physically true.
Yeah.
Like, and like this is the only goodness in her life is that she has this connection with this being who she grew. Like that's real. And to write it off as if that's not a real thing that people experience because you need a heroic icon is false. And so like this is the trap, right? It's like men have the freedom in film to play any kind of fucking character that we want. We can play Taxi Driver, we can play Willy Loman, we could play Junkies, we could play whatever we want, right? But women have to play either subservient to men, which satisfies men, or they have to play heroes for women. And they're being locked into these roles to be iconic and forced into these like non-real performances and non-real stories. Like it's just as trapping as everything else.
Very true.
And like if you want to tell a real
as
story
told by three white men.
But this is the thing, dude. It's just like this is like I don't have the experience of going through this, but I can certainly see people suffering from it. And then when you see a movie like Blonde, which is so empathic and is built to make people like myself who have no experience of this experience it painfully and deeply, and we have to reject this now because it's too emotionally accurate. Like, this is bad. We need her to be a hero, which she wasn't.
Right.
Like,
She was a real person.
Yes, she's a real person, right? And that's what you need to have empathy for, so you can fix all this fucking shit. But what we insist on constantly now is forcing people into fantasy roles, and I think that is extraordinarily damaging. Like, it's one thing to have a hopeful character; it's another thing to have a fantasy character.
I agree, and that's, I think, one of the things that I hope that this podcast can bring to people is like a little bit of perspective about like, oh, I didn't know all of that about Rosemary.
Hold on one second.
Because
guys.
I think a lot of people.
Hold on 1 second, please. You guys keep talking. My apologies.
Okay,
Yep, no problem.
I think a lot of people. There's Finn is in there. There's a lot of people that could watch this movie today, especially younger generations, and be very offended about the female role.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because they'd be reading it as like, if she's not the hero, then she must be the villain.
Right.
You know?
Or the victim.
Or the victim. Yeah. Like
the victim, right?
the point is to put her in her place.
But she is. Go ahead, Eric.
That dog's attacking me here.
Little Cujo, yes. But yeah, like she's like that. If to misread this movie is to think that it's about putting Rosemary in her place. That's not what the movie is saying. Like
who would even think that though?
This is I would see this. I mean, the thing is, like, this is exactly as tragic or read. I see this. I've definitely seen this written online. But it's like when people watch Blade Runner and they're like, how can you support this movie when it's about a cop that kills slaves? I'm just like, because the point is that it's a person who doesn't realize that he's being incredibly cruel, realizes that these are humans and that he is being
Why would
incredibly
people say that about Blade Runner?
Because that's the way people are. They try
But
to
at
find
this
a negative
rate, you're
thing.
never going to have to
Because
be able to make a movie.
Because
No.
without slamming them, the reason why they find solace in interpretations like this is because they think it protects them. Like I've stopped that bad movie that says that this happens, and now I don't have to worry about that anymore. When actually the movie was on your side and it was crossing boundaries that you can't cross by yelling at people.
Because it's isn't it cool? Sorry, but isn't it cooler to say that Blade Runner is about a cop that kills slaves, and therefore it's a bad movie? Now I am the person that figured it out.
I am the good guy,
and I am the good guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put
that's a fantasy.
and you know that fits within a tweet,
yeah,
right? As a statement,
right? And that's
right?
And this is very frustrating because like I am on that side, like I am 100% on that side,
right?
And when I see people
Which side?
On the like super progressive, ultra lefty, like anything pro LGBT,
Yeah, but they're not helping themselves right now.
So am I. But
They're not helping themselves.
But when you interpret movies like that,
shitting where you live, because honestly, or shitting where you sleep. The point is, you're going to destroy art.
Yeah, like if you want the truth to really affect people, you need it to be true. And it's very, very frustrating when people want the immediate satisfaction of fantasy and basically cosplaying something, cosplaying freedom rather than real freedom. And like real freedom, like is not uncomplicated. Like it is complicated because you're a person and with real feelings. And if you can't, if you only believe in comic book characters, then you're going to have a real tough time emulating them because they're not real. You know, and I think this is the real struggle that that Hollywood puts on stories like this, and it's not truthful, it's not helpful, and it's like it to me is very damaging to think like that. Like I was thinking, you saw my TikTok on Shelley Duvall in The Shining, who is one of the great performances of all time for me. Like
Right.
it's incredible. She's a marvelous actress in everything that she was in the 70s. Incredible actor, right? But the story of The Shining turned into, Kubrick terrorized her and abused her into giving this performance. And then she gave an interview just a couple of years ago in the Hollywood Reporter, who's just like, and the interview's like, so Kubrick was a real fucking bastard who tortured you into acting like that. And she's like, well, no, like we're artistic partners, and like he could be a total dick for sure. Like he was a pushy dick and he knew exactly what he wanted, but we were partners and we were constantly working together at the expense of the crew's time to get to where the characters were. Like it's one of the great experiences of our life. And I was just like, oh shit, I bought into that story hook, line, and sinker, told by somebody else rather than listen to her. When like as if it's the only way that a woman could give a performance like that was by being terrorized into it, as opposed to being a really fucking good actor, which is what she is. You know? Yep. And so like this is the self-serving reads on these things are very painful to me, because I'm like, I'm in total agreement with you, and so is the movie, but you're choosing the easy path for the quick payoff of your ego, and that's not going to help you out.
This is what I'm trying to push. I'm trying to push this. It's like this, a 3-hour podcast about a 2-hour movie is the cure for the toxic 280 character tweet about something, right? Yeah. I just think that's just my pitch on this. Yeah, I'm just saying that because like I think that we need to really spend the time to analyze things and get to those moments. And listen, you guys on chat can be more like jump in if you guys want to do this, but I think that this is a lot of things that needs to do it. But I do want a couple notes on our chat. Great phone booth scenes. Jason mentioned All the President's Men. You are 100% correct. Oh God, key phone booth scene.
Also, Hannah and Her Sisters. Michael Caine.
So many great ones. Why did we ever get rid of
That's good. Yeah, we should just do the great phone booth movies.
The great phone booth movies.
Film festival.
The great phone booth movies film festival. Yeah. Another one was Dave 3D said another
3 Days of the Condor.
Yes.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. It's a go-to. It's a go-to.
Another great waspy cocktail party horror film story is The Exorcist. You're right.
Oh God, yeah, it's so good. That's a great one.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
good one.
That's one of my favorite gags. When big like cocktail, everyone's having a total cocktail party time. Reagan comes down, pisses on the floor, and tells the astronaut, "You're gonna die up there." Like talk about fucking stone cold slap in the face.
It's so good.
Great moments ever. Unbelievably good.
So good.
You're gonna die up there.
You're gonna die up there. Yes. And then Dave 3, Jason says oxytocin spiking. I don't exactly know what part of that our rant that he's referring to, but
it's a great phrase.
I like it. We should make a T-shirt of that. Martini chant. Oxytocin spiking.
Exactly.
Everyone is Dave 3D says everyone is preoccupied by identifying who is the victim. The victim, more specific, and you're absolutely right. The victim is the one that's trying to be identified, right? Yep. And whoever is wronged the victim. And so when a victim doesn't get their revenge, they get very upset about it, right?
Yeah. And these are
because she doesn't. She doesn't get her revenge, and neither does Marilyn Monroe in Blonde.
And the thing is, I think that exactly. And I think that it's great to tell. Like there are loads of totally uplifting, wonderful stories that are incredibly inspiring about everybody, about every walk of life. Make those movies also, but don't look at a complex movie that has a hard statement and say it's bad because the statement is upsetting. Like say yes, this is truly part of the issue. Like this is Rosemary's Baby is a complex movie that has a hard thing to say, and that's why it's scary. Like it has something actual to say. That's why it's scary. I also the one I always talk about with my daughter is the Birds. Also, The Birds is like the more I watch it, it's become almost my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie because it has a secret movie that is happening that is incredibly honest about women's lives in this male dominant structure, and it's just below the surface of the movie all the time. And this is because Hitchcock's wife was the main force in writing these movies. She didn't write them, but she was the one who gave the notes to the screenwriters to sculpt them. Like, she had real things to say, and to blow it off is you're really missing something like that's very beautiful and very poignant.
Right. Right. Okay. Listen, we are at exactly 3 hours of a broadcast. I'm very excited about this. This was a good one. Excited about it. Yeah. We did a good job. Hopefully we did a good job. I feel we did a good job.
I was pretty ranty, so I feel good about myself.
You were really on tonight, man.
You were
I was
on
a little
tonight.
off my game, but you were on.
You're a little off.
I was excited.
We're gonna. No, you were not off your game. You were actually excellent, Eric. I was very. I did not give. I had a lot of opinion things to do, but I got worried about time, so I just kind of moved the plot forward a little bit. So, but that's fine.
But you got the most important thing is you got in the Tenet comparison, which is absolutely key.
Yeah,
and it gets people to see Tenet, which is amazing.
Well, I think we need to do an episode on that one because it is literally one of my favorite horror films.
Oh yeah,
of all time,
100%.
But I thought Rosemary's Baby would be a good one for.
This is great. So, I mean, I think this is one of his best, and it's a total crowd pleaser. Like, everyone's gonna love this movie. Great.
Right. In our chat, I am dropping our Discord. I would love it if anyone wants to join our Discord, or I'm sure most of the people in the chat are already on our Discord. But if one of you is not, please join. We'd love to have you on. It would be great to have you part of our Discord. Chats in there get quite funny. Lots of great memes, as well as competitive framed stuff that's going on. Also dropping our Patreon. That has become an important thing. One thing I will also note, hold on a second, one more thing. I will put our YouTube in there because our YouTube has actually become, we're going to start putting a lot more things on our YouTube, and it would love to have you as a subscriber. So let me go ahead and do that. So our YouTube is here. Oops. 1 second. And that is our YouTube. So please subscribe to our YouTube. We are actually starting to make more video content beyond the podcast, and that would be a good place to have it. So it'd be great to, for you guys to check those out. We're just going to start pumping these out like 1 or 2 a week, I think. It's little short form things.
I believe in jam.
It'll be fun.
Yep.
Jam. So if you like some ham and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, we'll be putting them out there.
Amen.
And one of my video has been all funky on OBS. I'm not sure. Hopefully my sound sounded okay. If my sound didn't sound good,
okay. Yeah, sound fine.
Well, it's for us and but I don't know on actual Twitch if it sounded good. Okay. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us on this Halloween special. And one more announcement for next week. We are going to be doing a watch party. However, this is going to be a special watch party because, as you guys know, watch parties are on Amazon Prime. They have to be on Amazon Prime, but they tend to cut horror films right before Halloween.
So we're going to do an Easter film.
No.
Passion of the Christ is our.
No. We're not doing Passion of the Christ. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be voting for it just before it airs. So we're going to find some suggestions
that we know are going to be on, and
that are going to be on, and then we're going to vote for them just before it airs, so that we can guarantee they're on. So we would love to have you guys be part of that. So make sure to get there early on Saturday. And make sure to vote for the movie that you want to do as a watch party, which will be on the 29th, I believe it will be. That's correct. So that will be a fun watch party. All right? You guys cool?
Right. I love it. Good plan.
All right. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Drink.
Talk.
Drink.